week of May, is it not?
There we go. Do we have one more? Yeah, we got one more.
Do we just kind of what?
Yeah.
Okay, I know that the 26th is next Monday, correct? It's the next Monday.
Today plus 8, yes.
Yeah, so that's
Today's
Memorial
18th.
Day.
Yeah.
All right, so we won't be here, will we?
No, we won't be here. So you get next.
Well, I don't know.
Save a little money, and you don't have to come in.
Yeah. Dave told me last night, he's like, well, you can show up if you want, but I won't be there. So.
Yeah, that's right. I told Billy, well, you show up. You can talk into a microphone. Nobody be here to run the studio.
I'm perfectly capable of running my mouth for an hour, though. I'm just saying.
I know you could.
So whenever we have
Steve.
Whenever we have our small groups, whenever we hit the mark where I'm ready for everybody to go, I always tell them, I say, listen, you guys don't have to go home right now, but you can't stay here. That's right.
My dad was worse than that. So my dad, even today and his entire life, at about 8 o'clock, he goes to bed. I don't care what's going on. And, of course, he was a pastor my entire life, and he did that until he retired. And even if we had, guests over something, at 8 o'clock, he'd just get up and go, well, I'm going to bed, and wander out of the room. It was just like, all righty then. I guess y'all should probably go home because he's done. So
that's crazy.
What time do you go to bed, Dave?
I try, and I use that term loosely.
Yeah.
I try to be laying my head down and turning the light off next to my bed at 9 o'clock.
No, yeah.
Typically, it's about 9:30, sometimes 10 o'clock. Depends if the Bosch book that I'm reading is really interesting.
Yeah.
I might read an extra couple of chapters.
Oh, right.
While I'm in bed. I read every night before I go to sleep.
Yeah.
That's a good habit.
It's something that I've done since I can remember. When I was a kid, I used to do that.
Yeah.
And read books. I love books. Like reading.
Yep.
I don't like to own books. That's why I've got a Kindle now. And I've got like 300 books in my Kindle.
Yeah.
And that makes a big difference when you go on a trip.
Sure, you take 300 books.
You don't have all the books with you. I used to, when I'd go to, the whole thing of CPAC and stuff like that, I'd carry 5 and 6 books, sometimes 7.
Yeah.
And that in and of itself, carrying that suitcase, it was heavy.
It was heavy, yeah.
It was really heavy, so I don't do that anymore. So everybody had a good weekend. I was talking to these guys before we got started. We had a good weekend. I had a good weekend. Linda had a good weekend down in Texas. She's visiting in Texas. She's with her daughter right now, which is south of San Antonio.
Oh, wow.
In fact, it's about 45 minutes south of the guy we have on all the time, Val, who was lying down taking a nap on a Sunday afternoon when a shooter started shooting up the church and was shooting the parishioners. And he ran out, and if he had not come out, this guy probably would have killed another 30 or 40 people. So he stopped him.
Yeah.
He hit him. I think he says was it 4 times, I think it was. He really hit him 6 times because they found the areas on the body armor that he was wearing where you could see the bullet had struck him. But one got underneath his arm between where the body armor started and went in under his armpit, ended up killing him.
Yeah.
How long was that? Is that recently that happened?
It was maybe 5-6 years.
Oh, okay.
It happened down in Texas.
Yeah, I remembered one, but I didn't know if it was recent or.
Yeah, their attendance fell off at that church, and what they did is they tore down the old church and built new building, and people came back. They just couldn't bring themselves to go to
where
the
it
church
happened.
where everybody had been shot.
Oh, right, yeah.
It was not a good thing to remember. We've had several people from Texas, a couple pastors, one that shot the guy across the church, the guy who shot the guy with the shotgun was a pastor, and he just happened to be in the aisle behind the shooter, and the guy got one shot of the shotgun off, and the pastor had pulled his weapon and shot him and killed him.
Wow.
It's pretty bad when you can't go to church without worrying about people bringing their gun in. And I got to say this much, that a lot of people say, I can't believe you go to a church that you tell people to carry guns. We got security where I go to church at.
Yeah.
We've got people that are armed.
Yeah.
And you know where they really pay attention? The first place that you're going to see a shooter, an active shooter, is out in the parking lot.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And they talk to everybody who's walking up to the front doors. And they said, you can tell if they're up to no good.
Yeah.
It's very obvious.
Look,
still.
even Jesus told the guys to go get some swords.
Get a sword,
Yeah. We do have some swords, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's 1/6 of everybody who was there was armed. I'm just saying, changes the math just a little bit when you've got a significant portion who are armed and prepared to defend. So,
I think it's silly for the government to be able to tell a church they can or cannot have firearms. I mean, I understand them writing the law says if you want to have firearms, you can have firearms. If you don't have to. That kind of a law, that just makes sense to me. Some churches, if you're a Quaker church, you're not going to carry a gun if you're a Quaker church. But just that, let the church make the decision on that.
I have a very hard time listening to anybody say that you cannot defend yourself when they have armed bodyguards for themselves, carrying guns. It's just hypocrisy. So, I mean, I'm like, I'm deaf to you. I'm not even here. I can't even hear what you're saying. And I won't even engage in conversation with you.
Don't you think it's ridiculous that you'd be willing to let a rogue country have an atomic bomb, but not let your citizens arm themselves in case somebody else wants to do them harm?
Well, right now, one of the problems we're having with Iran right now is because the people are not armed. They can't rise up. Yeah. And you want to talk about giving a rogue country a nuclear weapon. Look at the disaster that Bill Clinton did when he allowed North Korea to get nuclear information. Well, they're just going to use it to take care of their own people. Well, hello, now we have a radical with a nuke in North Korea.
I'd ask the president to this day is, hey, how many ways can you make dirt soup?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That's what they eat over there at times.
It's asinine.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw it, but North Korea, they said now that he put a new plan in place. If anything happens to him, if he's taken out like Maduro or whatever, if anything happens to him or anyone in his cabinet, the command is already given for thermonuclear war. Just start pushing the buttons.
Yep,
that's what's going to happen. If he dies,
it's
Thursday, automatically going to happen.
Yeah, I think he is concerned about a particular group of highly talented individuals coming in.
Not the ones in charge anymore. It's his daughter now, isn't it? Didn't she kind of move in and take his place?
She is being groomed as a replacement, I believe. But I think he's
not an old guy, though, is he?
He's older than he looks.
In his late 50s, early 60s.
I want to say he's in his early 60s, maybe even mid 60s at this point.
All right.
But,
okay. I don't think he has a lot of time left on this earth because he's a fat little roly-poly guy.
Well,
I'm just saying.
He's just the Rocket Man.
He is the Rocket Man. That's the truth. That is the truth. So how do you guys feel about what's going on now in the Middle East? People had a lot of I think, positive reactions to when the president went in, and they've worked hard with the Israelis to take out the power structure that's their mullahs and all of those folks. And if you stick your head up too high and say, I'm the supreme leader, you get whack-a-mole.
Yeah. What you mean is you were the supreme leader because I think our biggest problem, and it's the problem we have everywhere in the world where Islam rules, is that the Western mind simply does not understand the difference between that Eastern mindset and the Western mindset. We keep assuming.
Where have we heard that from? Yeah, Enrico, who comes on my show on Thursday. He's a citizen of Israel, citizen of the United States, citizen of Italy.
Yeah.
Kind of a worldwide citizen kind of guy. But that's what he says has to change in the West. And he mentions the United States particularly, is that an Eastern train of thought is totally different than a Western chain of thought.
And go ahead.
And Shia in particular is even even more radical than the rest of Eastern thought because they believe it is their responsibility to bring about the apocalypse, what we would call the apocalypse. So when we go over there and stir up war, they get excited. It's like, well, we're helping them accomplish what they believe their goal is. So
the Mahdi.
Yeah.
So I think that it's also an important thing that you mentioned about the Eastern mindset versus the Western mindset. As Christians, we need to also keep in mind that book that you read every Sunday, and hopefully you read every day, is not a Western book.
Oh,
True
no,
enough.
it's not.
And so the moment you try to take your Western idea of right and wrong and justice and equity and fairness and place it upon the Bible, you're going to mess up the message because it only makes sense from an Eastern mindset. That's why it's important to approach the Bible Hebraically and not from the Greek perspective. And the vast majority of people look at it from the Greek. Years ago, I had a friend of mine, he was attending a Bible college here in the States, actually in a different state. And there was a book going around campus, a lot of people reading it. It was called, it was a book about prayer by a man named Watchman Nee. Have you ever heard of Watchman Nee?
Yeah, he's from South Korea.
Yeah, so
one of the biggest
China.
churches in the world.
No, that's Young Cho.
Okay.
Yeah, this Watchman, he was Chinese. I think maybe one of the 20s, 30s, 40s, whatever. And so when you read his books, it's quite interesting. You read his book, you read a paragraph, and then you'll think, I didn't get that.
Right.
You got to go back and read it again. It's really, really some good writings. I'm not endorsing all of his books. I don't know all of them, but some I've read is very, very in depth. At any rate, so this book on prayer was making its way around this college campus, and people were getting so into reading Watchman Nee that the faculty felt they needed to talk about it. And so my friend, he got a call like all of the students to go to the auditorium. They're going to have a student assembly. And he said they got up there and they said, now we know that a lot of you are reading some books by Watchman Nee. And we just want to give you a warning. Watchman Nee is an Eastern thinker.
Yep. Now,
this is a Bible college, and they're warning everybody that Watchman Nee is an Eastern thinker. And I thought to myself, hello, the Bible is an Eastern book.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're warning people about Eastern thinkers when you're studying that Eastern book.
Yep.
How disconnected are you when it comes to the approach of this book? It does require a shift. That's why I think what we're doing militarily, if you don't approach this thing theologically, bring theology into it, you're not going to understand. We're waiting to get their surrender. They're never going to surrender.
Yeah.
There's not going to. It's not within their theology to do it unless they are going to quickly say, okay, uncle, just to let you back up. And, honestly, I don't know why we've stopped. Right now we've handcuffed the Israelis. They want to do stuff. We're not letting them do it. And listen, they are the ones who know how to fight this fight. We're Western thinkers coming in trying to fight it. Let the people in the region do what they need to do. Take your cue from them. Let them give the lead here. If you're in a boxing ring, Dave, and your opponent is on the ropes and you can see he's about to get knocked out, do you back off?
Yeah, well, it's the same illustration would be if you fight somebody whose predominant hand is their right, and then you go into the next fight and you think, well, I'll just do what I did to defeat the last guy, but he's a lefty.
Yeah,
it's totally different now.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
I mean, the guy who's left, his body, he's going to be different.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so I think that, at any rate, I've got my opinions about how things are going in Iran, but I think that the economic thing is fine, but I don't know why we've stopped.
I'm with you on
the handcuffs might get taken off a little bit now that they struck a nuclear reactor over the weekends.
I heard something, was it EAU or?
I think it was the EAU. I would have to go look specifically, but my brain says it was the EAU. But that's one of those. There are a set number of things that are written into international doctrine which you must not do or else. And striking a nuclear plant of any sort is right at the top of that list.
Like putting mines in international waters as well?
We don't talk about that. Right. So, but Well, don't you know that according to Iran, that's not international waters, that's Iranian water.
Yeah,
so
they think they own all that.
Right. So there's going to be some backlash there. There will be some price to pay for that. And kind of even a bunch of the countries that kind of sitting on the fence are now like, oh, if you're willing to do that, we've got to get involved. Right. So we may see a little more support for the efforts going on over there starting this week.
Val is moving in the studio and waving her hand, and I do have the top IQ. You're right, Val. So anyway, we'll take a break here on the Dave Ellswick Show.
Did you see
precious metals? Don't wait. The Iranian conflict seems to be nearing an end, and the time is now to position your retirement for massive growth. Advantage Gold is America's #1 precious metals company, and they want to send you a free gold and silver investor guide valued at $49 when you call 800-900-8000. Plus, you'll get a free copy of economist Ken Rogoff's book, Our Dollar, Your Problem. Our specialists can help you open a new account or transfer funds from an existing IRA, tax and penalty free, and show you how a gold-backed IRA can put real, tangible assets into your retirement portfolio. Markets react to news cycles, but gold has maintained its value through inflation, volatility, and economic uncertainty. When the purchasing power of the dollar declines, that's when investors turn to gold and silver. Make your move now. Call Advantage Gold at 800-900-8000. Results may vary. Consult your financial advisor before investing. Call 800-900-8000. That's 800-900-8000.
What if you could take 101.1 The Answer with you everywhere? You can. Download the 101.1 The Answer app and stay connected to the voices you trust, live and on demand. Wake up with Dave Ellswick. Stay sharp with Doc Washburn. And hear from national voices like Chris DeGaulle, Scott Jennings, Hugh Hewitt, Larry Elder, and Mike Gallagher. Breaking news, bold opinions, local insight, national perspective, all in one place, all in your pocket, at work, in the car, on the go. If it matters to Arkansas and America, you'll hear it on 101.1 The Answer. Plus, stream us live anywhere. Catch up on podcasts and never miss a moment. Search 101.1 The Answer in your app store and download it today. 101.1 The Answer, where Little Rock comes to talk.
Feeling like a family getaway, but don't want to go too far? Need a true adventure, but don't want to spend too much? Want a ton of stuff to do that's all in the same place? Welcome to Arkansas State Parks, where in a couple hours drive, you can change your scenery and your state of mind. With active adventures or just gorgeous views where you can catch your breath, we have 52 state parks to choose from. Plan your getaway at arkansasstateparks.com. Brought to you by this station and the Arkansas Broadcasters Association.
The Dave Ellswick Show is back. 101.1 The Answer.
It's 24 minutes after 7. The Bible guys are in the studio. Steve's not here. He has to teach this morning in his class on C-130s. And then he won't be here next week because none of us will be. It's Memorial Day.
Billy might show up by himself.
Well, I told him if
I
he
live by a
shows up,
schedule.
he's here by himself.
I live by a schedule. So when my alarm, and the alarm is set for every Monday morning. When my alarm goes off next Monday morning, I'm going to get up and start getting dressed. And I'm hoping I will remember that it's Memorial Day before I drive all the way over.
Don't do that. Yeah. don't do that. Just big thing. Because nobody, it's going to be, Hey, Dave.
Hello.
Dave's not here.
He'll realize when he pulls in the parking lot,
I'm
there's no cars there.
That'd just be a good excuse to swing on down to Chick-fil-A and grab some Chick-fil-A and drive home. So,
Do you know that even Gen Zers know that comedy routine?
Really?
Yeah, that's how it's like who's on first.
All right.
What comedy routine?
Oh, the Cheech and Chong.
No,
And there's a comedy routine from The Big Bamboo, which was one of their albums, which came, you got a double, it was a single album, but it was a folding case, and then had all the liner notes and stuff. And it came with the biggest wrapping paper for making a marijuana cigarette that you've ever seen. Because they were known about being high all the time. Right. So it was, they were just classic.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff. But
how does that? What's that have to do with going to Chick-fil-A? I'm sorry, I don't see the connection. How we jumped from that.
Well, if you get the munchies, you probably might want to go to Chick-fil-A.
Might want some Chick-fil-A.
Oh, right. Okay.
My go-to place when I was in college was I used to go to Taco Bell.
I love Taco Bell.
Or as I say, I would go to the Mexican phone company.
Yeah, there you go.
Bell.
I worked at Taco Bell for a few years.
Did you?
So, yeah. Was I late junior high and early high school? I worked at Taco Bell.
Oh, right.
So, hey, look, and I worked the late shift, so I closed, which means at the end of the night, if you had accidentally cooked too much food, you just gathered it all up and stuck it in the sack.
Right?
Uh-huh.
So
nice.
Everybody in my house ate Taco Bell for a very long time.
Nice.
Yeah. Nice. The only thing that I ate during college that even today now, if any of it's in our pantry, I look at it and just go, I don't think so. Ramen noodles.
Oh, really?
I ate so many of those little, well, they didn't have them in the styrofoam cup when I was in college. You got out the pot and boiled the water and did it that way. But, I just don't eat ramen.
Benjamin lives on ramen noodles, I swear.
My son had a roommate in college his first year, and this kid lived on a shoestring, and he converted all money in his head into how many ramen noodles he could buy. So
that's 10,000 ramen noodles. What are you talking about?
My son said, buy a Coke, and the guy would say, that's like 4 ramen. So ramen became a denomination of currency. That's like 17 ramen. That's like 5 ramen. So that was all that he would talk about.
That's hilarious. I love it. I'll have to do that with Benjamin. You know how many ramen we could buy with that?
Yeah, right.
That's crazy. But I'm going to suggest to everybody, to you guys and to everybody else, on Netflix. If you have Netflix, I'm not saying go out and buy Netflix so you can watch this, but if you have it, you should watch it. There's a documentary on Netflix called 1971. 1971, the music that changed the world.
Oh, yeah.
And I forgot how much upheaval there really was in 1971. Let me just throw some things out to you. There was a thing in the at the beginning on this show, and they say in 1971 we were starting to create the 21st century. That's what they say, and it's because gay rights started in 1971. Female rights in the ERA. 1971. Kent State, 1971.
What?
Kent State, where they shot the students on the campus of Kent State in Ohio.
Yeah, National Guard came in.
I'm trying to think what other big thing there was. There's
about a dozen things that happened in 71.
Got started there that we are still arguing about here in the country. I'll argue the point with anybody that 1971 produced some of the greatest rock and roll that was ever
the 70s in general marked a radical shift in the United States and the way we live today. Many of the technologies, you had some computers, quote unquote, before the 70s, but really we get our first, what we would recognize as computers in the 70s. We get our first computer-to-computer telecommunications then. So,
Here's Bill O'Reilly on the Dave Ellswick Show.
Bill O'Reilly here, and I'm warming up. Stand by for the O'Reilly Update Morning Edition. But first, homeowners, when is the last time you checked your home title? Scammers are everywhere, and they're targeting your equity. With just a single forged document, they can file at the county. So don't wait until it's too late. Find out if you are already a victim today. Please go to HomeTitleLock.com. Use the promo code BILL to get a free title history report, plus a free trial of their $1 million triple lock protection. On this Monday, I recently did a commentary on YouTube about Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and her knowledge of history, which is scant, S-C-A-N-T, to say the least. Now, I am not in business to run down Congressman Ocasio-Cortez. In fact, I admire her pluck. I mean, there's a woman that comes out of Boston University, and I have a master's degree from that school as well, and gets a congressional seat held by a longtime Democratic player. All right, she is a woman of accomplishment, but she is a communist. And recently, she gave a couple of podcast interviews where she said, hey, there was communism or socialism, whatever you want to call it, in the beginning of this nation. The founding fathers were aware of it because of the billionaires. The problem is, Congresswoman, there were no billionaires. Why? Because the King of England, George, would not allow that. Yes, there were dukes and earls and landowners. They weren't billionaires. They took what the king gave them. So we need a little history update here, Congresswoman. Just trying to help. Back in a moment. Trapped in a timeshare, fees rising every year while availability shrinks, resorts making exiting nearly impossible. That's why I partner only with Lone Star Transfer. This family-owned company is transparent, honest, respectful. They have helped more than 40,000 owners exit legally and ethically through a simple guaranteed process. No surprise fees, no unused vacations, no stress. Please visit LoneStarTransfer.com or you can call 855-551-7066. Tell them Bill sent you today. That is the Morning O'Reilly Update. More analysis later on.
We bring you the biggest news stories of the day. Not to tell you what to think, but to allow you to have the most information so you can make up your mind. 101.1 The Answer, where Little Rock comes to talk. In his new movie, The Dragon's Prophecy, Dinesh D'Souza brings the new Middle East into focus.
Could the fate of the world, of humanity itself, be somehow tied to this place?
At long last, we have peace in the Middle East.
Israel and Christians are coming together in a way they have never been before.
But is this the end of Hamas and radical Islam? The Dragon's Prophecy is powerful, prophetic, a must-see movie. Now available on Amazon, YouTube, and iTunes. If things don't change, can you imagine America in 20 years? Scary thought, isn't it? The good news is we have the power to take our nation back. Stay right here for all the information you need. 101.1 The Answer. Did you hear Congressman Bruce Westerman on the Dave Ellswick Show?
You can get people from the Democrats to many times support conservative policies. What's your special elixir that's helping you do that?
Well, there's different groups of Democrats up here, and there's some that there's issues that you can work with them on. And most of the time, it's just looking at the facts and finding somebody that wants to work for the good of the country, and we can work together on issues when we do that. It's really the far left of the Democrat Party that's sounding the bell and that's got the attention of the media. But when we look at, certain economic issues and issues with natural resources, we've been able to do a lot of good work on the Natural Resources Committee.
Don't miss Congressman Westerman, Wednesday mornings at 7:30 on the Dave Ellswick Show. 101.1 The Answer. The conservative voice of Arkansas. The Dave Ellswick Show on 101.1 The Answer.
It's Monday. And something that stuck out like a sore thumb to me about this documentary was 1971. Jesus' revolution was going in 1971. Huge. Was moving huge. And they talked about it for about 60 seconds.
Yeah.
And they followed it up by Roger Daltrey, who's the lead singer of The Who said, yeah, I didn't get involved with those nut jobs.
Yeah.
That's what you heard. That's where they left it. They weren't a bunch of nut jobs. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Were they people who believed you should do things biblically? Yeah, they were, you know, and I don't know. It just goes to show what somebody who's not a believer, when they're putting something together, that if religion, and I hate to use the word religion, but if your faith, if you're not living out your faith, which we were starting to do in the 70s with the Jesus movement, you get a very skewed look at what, Jesus Christ is and who he was.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people now that say there's no archaeological information that Jesus even existed. Wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just wrong.
There's a video that I reposted a while back, and it goes through historical figures. Like there are only 6 books, I think, existent today that even mention Alexander the Great. There are 5 for Genghis Khan. There are 2 for fill in the blank, and then you get to Jesus, and it's like there are 10,000 manuscripts. There are X number of tablets. There are it's just like if we're talking about there's not enough proof, then you have to eliminate the vast majority of historical figures because there's far less proof for them than there was for Christ.
And I agree with that.
Yeah,
I really, really do. I mean, ever since the Dead
Sea
Scrolls, there's no argument that there's no historic basis for Jesus Christ.
Yeah, archaeology is called the 5th gospel.
Yeah,
because it preaches the same message as the gospel. It's just in archaeology. I mean, every time you have these guys, they call themselves. I'm drawing a blank now. Basically, they're critical. What's it called? At any rate, they're people who basically try to play down everything the Bible says. Like for a long time, they said Pontius Pilate didn't exist because we don't have anything.
Right.
And
then you turn over a paving stone.
Right. And they found a paving stone in Caesarea Maritima, and bam, he actually did exist.
Turn it over, and it says Pontius Pilate, curator of Judea.
And so everything that they put forward always gets disproven. It's one of the most historical events in human history,
and one of the most well documented.
Yes,
and that's the thing.
Eyewitness account.
Yeah,
it's absolutely amazing. But you mentioned about the Jesus movement. I didn't see the movie, but there was a movie that recently came out with the Kelsey Grammer that starred in it.
Jesus Revolution.
Yeah, did you see that?
Yeah.
Was it?
It was kind of close.
Kind of close.
It was kind of close.
Okay.
He played the pastor of that Costa Mesa church that split over allowing hippies to come in and worship with him.
And he went with the hippies, didn't he?
He went with the hippies.
Yeah.
And there were so many people that were against it because they didn't wear shoes and they were getting
long hair and
they were getting the carpet dirty.
Oh, right.
I don't know why we always get carpet somehow gets involved with churches staying together or splitting or whatever. But
that and pews versus chairs. That's always a fight.
You had all these people coming in, and that's where Love Song came together, and they were one of the first really great Christian groups. You weren't here at the time. You would have enjoyed it, Val. I had Chuck Gerard on, and he's the guy who started, a lot of the early Christian music, and it was really interesting talking to him and how certain churches would not allow them in the doors, because they used electric guitars and stuff.
Oh, right, yeah. And now look, you can't go anywhere without seeing electric guitar.
I can take you to a lot of Church of Christ.
Well, yeah, sure, yeah, of course. I'm
just saying.
I can take you to places where instruments at all aren't allowed.
Yeah,
so,
misquote there.
And isn't it really kind of strange that you talk to people who have that kind of mindset, and you got to remind them that some of our greatest hymns were put to the music of drinking songs.
Yep.
And things of that nature.
There was a time where Amazing Grace was a brand new song.
Yeah,
it was a brand new sound.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we don't think of it.
And that music came, the musical score for that came directly from a drinking song.
And the words came from a man who was a slave trader.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what happens, the changes that Christ brings.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can take something that is not holy and make it holy.
When the Holy Ghost gets a hold of you, everything changes. Speaking of that, this coming weekend is Pentecost. Shavuot Sunday.
50 days.
Yeah. So
depends on how you count.
Yes.
I agree with you that it's Sunday.
Yeah, we're going with Sunday. So we are counting. We're on day 50. Day 44 of the Omer. Is that right? So I think it's
44 or 48. 48.
Yeah.
You know how you're counting.
So there's you count up. So from after the first fruits of Passover, then you basically start counting. You count up to 50. And the Bible tells you to count the Omer, and you count up to 50, and then it's the big celebration, and that's happening this coming Sunday.
Steve Hess, who is usually on the show, but not when he has to render to Caesar what is Caesar's. But he was speaking at my life group last night, as was Billy, and he was leaving the life group, and I don't know where he was driving to. I think it was another Hebraic congregation.
He was headed up to the church. So we do
the new moon.
Go do the new moon sighting, Rosh Chodesh. So we've got a astronomy, and I always have to stop and think: is it astronomy or astrology? No, it's astronomy. Because astrology is the wrong one.
Yeah,
we've got a astronomy buff at the church, and he's got some really big telescopes. So every month we go set that up and anxiously await the new moon. So that is biblical. That is how we knew when to start months during biblical times, is that you would go out into the fields surrounding Jerusalem
and watch
await
the sky,
await the arising of the new moon, and that would start the new month. So we even now we continue that practice. Obviously, we don't get to change the calendars based on that, but
we even have the word
practice.
Month comes from the word monad, which comes from the word moon.
Yeah.
So even our months are named after the phases of the moon. We have a solar calendar here, but the term for month comes from the word moon. So it's still part of our vocabulary anyway.
Of course, the Greco calendar that Julius Caesar put into place, most of the days are named after Roman gods.
That's true.
Yeah.
And if you paid,
which one is named after Caesar?
July.
Okay.
And August is after Augustus Caesar.
Augustus, yeah.
But if you look at it back by I think in the 1500s in the UK, so that means that's before the founding of America. Back in the 1500s, the New Year was in March in the spring, which is biblical New Year, and Gregory decided he wanted to change that, and so a lot of it changed. But in the UK, we used to celebrate the New Year in the spring, the way the Bible actually says to do it. And so, but then Gregory comes along and changes it. The Pope does. But even in our calendar today, it's leftovers from that time, and you can see it, especially if you speak any Latin-based languages, because like if you
October,
September is siete, which is 7. Well, for us, it's 9 months, but it used to be 7th month, and then October is 8, and then November, Nove is 10, and then December is 10, DC, and Nove is 9. So you can see some of the remnants of the original calendar left even in our language.
Yeah, because it's idioms.
Yeah,
So
if December is 10, DC, like December would have been 10th month, DC, then that means January is 11, February is 12, and that puts March in the number 1 spot, which is when we used to celebrate it. And typically Passover falls in the March, April time, which the Bible says is the beginning of months for you. So it used to be on point.
Let me bring up something else. We talked earlier about how Westerners need to read the Bible with Eastern thought at its foremost. And a lot of people don't do that. They read the Bible and they say, well, it says God said go out and kill everybody, blah, 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 and all that. And I point out to them, that's because you're basing it on Western thought. Eastern thought was you had to kill off everybody, because if you left anybody, you're going to fight them again.
Yeah, and it's important to look at the specific tribes and cities and groups of people that, because God didn't tell them to do that to everybody. There were specific cities where he's like, hey, you need to go in and kill everybody there. And when we go look at that, what we will find is that they all lead back to what the Scripture describes as those. I have no idea what my phone's doing that. Apologies to everyone. Are the depends on how you interpret Genesis 6:4, but they are the tribes that come after the giants, if you want to interpret that way, the mighty men of Genesis. So it appears there's a spiritual component to that as well. It's like, hey, these are people who are corrupted by whatever happened before the flood that causes the flood. That survives. We see that it says before and after the flood, these groups of people still existed, and God was very adamant about. Matter of fact, there's a time when Israel doesn't obey. They don't go in and kill everybody and destroy everything and burn the land and kill all the animals, and God punishes them because they don't do what they were told to do.
That's why Saul lost his kingdom.
Yeah, and it's like, look, I gave you very specific instructions and you failed. So guess what? You are a failed king at this point. So
you think about what he was told to kill all of the.
And he left the king alive and the queen,
and follow the genealogy. And guess what you see happening? The story of Esther comes along, and it's the descendant of the remnant Saul left over is Haman.
Yeah.
If you work out the genealogy, Haman, who becomes the one who orchestrates the massacre of the Jews in Shushan, or in the kingdom of Persia, he was actually the descendant from the people that Saul left living. So there's a reason for it. And God is working out a plan that is far bigger than any of us have any idea of. And one thing you always have to remember is God is 100% just in what he does. And just because I don't understand it doesn't mean that it's wrong.
Yeah, I agree.
I just got to get my mind in line with what his will is, and then I'll figure it out.
Yeah, I make that statement in my own sanctification process that you go through as you're living once after you've accepted Christ. And that is, I look at certain things and I go, that's BS. And then I go, yeah, but if I'm going to accept that the word says that the only way to the Father is through the Son, and he's the way, the truth, and the life, then either that's correct and everything else in the Bible is correct, or that's not correct, and so thus my salvation is destroyed.
Yeah.
That's what I got into the big argument with one of my professors in seminary, and got me where I left seminary.
Yeah.
And they were telling me that, the virgin birth wasn't important. And
amazing.
The professor brought that up, and my hand shot up like a rocket.
Yeah.
All right. And he said, yes, Mr. Ellsworth. And I said, then where's my salvation? Because when Christ was born, if he was not spotless, if he was not 100% God and 100% man, then I don't have anybody to place my faith in.
He's not the worthy sacrifice.
How did he respond to you?
He just looked at me, and I've been told that when I walk away, some women go, like that. I don't know if they go, because, wow, he's out of here now. But bottom line was, I walked out, and so did two of my fellow students.
Yeah.
And I went right from there to the registrar's office and dropped the course.
Yeah.
Because if you can't say to me, you believe in that,
mm-hmm.
then what can you tell me didn't you do believe in?
You probably should not be teaching at a seminary.
I agree.
If you don't believe in that.
See, I went to seminary, Southern Baptist Theological Seminary in Fort Worth. I was there when the political fight was going on. And I'll say it this way, it was for the soul of the Southern Baptist religion. And luckily, the conservatives won out.
Mm-hmm.
Because, to give you a good example, Charles Stanley, some people still remember who Charles Stanley was coming to preach at the seminary. And all of the lefties were saying, no, you can't have him come out. And because he stood against homosexuality and stuff. And they just raised, holy hell is how I put it.
What year would that have been?
It would have been in the very early 80s.
So even back then, there was that going on.
Oh yeah,
in seminaries.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's when Adrian Rogers took over.
Right.
And if it hadn't been for Adrian Rogers, there's a good chance the Southern Baptist Church would have been the local, Lutheran church or something, and letting.
Well, that's what happened with the American universities, because the Ivy League was all Bible colleges, and what happened is the liberals got into the positions of being the bursar and the presidents and things like that, and they just took it down the road to where now you wouldn't even know that Harvard was a Bible college or seminary. You wouldn't even know that.
Though?
Yeah,
and when you look at the crest of those,
look at the Hebrew
of those particular institutions of learning, they took their students and taught them just the opposite of what they were founded to be.
Well, in the early days of all those
Hebrew
places, Hebrew was a mandatory class.
Yeah,
you had to take Hebrew. You had to be able to read Hebrew. And today, they don't even recognize it. The students there wouldn't recognize Hebrew.
When you would graduate, you were I think when was it Jefferson when he was graduating? When they were graduating, there were 3 approved languages you could give your speeches in. If you were one of the valedictorians or whatever, you give a speech in English or Greek or Hebrew.
Yeah.
That's what you give your speech in. It was very much a part of the life of all these colleges and academies. And now it's like a mandatory 1 semester type thing. It's almost like we got to do it. So, but it's all Greek focused now. Yeah. Greek and counseling is what was replaced the emphasis of Hebrew.
All right, heading to the top of the hour at 8:00. It's 8 minutes till time for us to get a break in. You're listening to the Dave Ellswick Show with the Bible Guys here on 101.1 FM, The Answer.
There's danger out there. It lurks on highways and quiet neighborhood streets. It's more likely to kill you than a shark and more terrifying than the biggest snake. Distracted driving claims lives every day. Every notification, swipe, social post, video, or selfie while driving risks your life. So while you might think public speaking or the zombie apocalypse is scary, what's really terrifying and even deadly is distracted driving. Eyes forward. Don't drive distracted. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Retirement can be scary, but only if you're not prepared. That's why AARP created thisispretirement.org. Because unless you've already retired, you're in pretirement, and you still have time to plan. Learn about retirement savings options, potential tax breaks, and how you can build savings over time. Visit thisispretirement.org for free resources to help you customize your action plan and feel the retirement fear disappear. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Alex Marlow cuts through the political spin on the Alex Marlow podcast.
The lawfare superstructure is the single biggest threat to President Trump. And that's why it's important that we figure out how to run up the score as much as we can while their bench is so lame and while we have the opportunity to add seats via redistricting and make sure that we make this Trump presidency as successful as possible so that we never relinquish power back to these people.
Subscribe for free today on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, or at SalemPodcastNetwork.com. This is 101.1, The Answer, where Little Rock comes to talk. Start your day with Dave Ellswick in the morning, breaking down the stories shaping Arkansas and the nation and hearing what you have to say. Then in the afternoon, join Doc Washburn as he takes on the biggest headlines, asks the tough questions, and opens the phones for real conversation. Because on 101.1, The Answer, talk radio means your voice matters. Call in, sound off, be a part of the discussion at 501-401-1011. Plus, hear from some of the biggest names in talk radio. CNN Scott Jennings, Mike Gallagher, Larry Elder, bringing you smart analysis, strong opinions, and the debate everyone's talking about. Local voices, national perspective, and your chance to be heard. 501-401-1011. 101.1, The Answer, where Little Rock comes to talk. The Dave Ellswick Show continues now. 101.1, The Answer.
Here on the Dave Ellswick Show. And as most of you, if not all of you know, is that we're getting ready to celebrate on the 4th of July the 250th birthday of America. And they had a big wingding in Washington, D.C. Over the weekend. And the name of Jesus Christ was probably used more, in its original term than as a curse, that happened. And that's something I'm a bit happy to see, is that people are understanding that, Christ played a vital role in the United States and where we're at. I know there's a lot of you think about the separation of church and state. What I would tell you is to read about that whole thing. You learn about the Danbury letter and why it was written and what was Jefferson really saying.
Right.
Because he was not saying keep religion out of the United States. He was saying
keep the states.
We're not supposed to, the state
out
speaking
of religion
in Washington, D.C. was not supposed to have a religious thing. It's like they didn't want the Church of England again.
Right.
All the states had their own religions that they followed.
Right. Well, in the UK, the state is involved in religion. And so what he was saying, I don't want the state involved in religion, but he didn't say the religion couldn't be involved in the state.
Correct.
That's why at the Capitol you have a statue of Moses, or picture of Moses in the center of the Supreme Court building. You have the 10 Commandments plastered all over doors everywhere. The U.S. Capitol building used to be a church.
Yeah.
And Thomas Jefferson went to the church in that building.
They still have Sunday services in the Capitol?
I didn't know that.
Yes.
Yeah. So it was not to keep religion out of the government. It was to keep government out of the church. And even if he did mean something else, that's not a document.
Right.
It's just a letter.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with our founding documents, Constitution, Bill of Rights, nothing.
Well,
Yet people treat it as if it's something like that.
I remind people that want to say, well, Jefferson didn't want the church being involved. And I said, where do we get these crazy notions? I said, do you know that Jefferson wanted America to be a literate country? And so he hit thousands of Bibles out to the colonies.
That's right.
To teach them to read the Bible. Yeah,
right.
They were buying the Bible and sending it out to the colonies.
And the U.S. government was printing them.
Right.
So we're using tax money to print the Bible. And don't they still give a Bible to everyone who joins Congress?
Probably so.
Yeah, you're giving a Bible because this is the foundation of our laws in our country.
Guys, I'd like to keep you here another hour, keep on talking, but I can't. Kind of let you go. Bible Guys got us underway today, and I hope you think about some of the things that you heard today on the show. So Scott and Billy are going to go out and do what they do for a living, and then we'll come back, and the power panel will be here, and we'll be talking about stuff on the Dave Ellswick Show.
Another Monday in the books.
Find us at 1011fmtheanswer.com. Download our apps, stream us 24/7, or watch us at snc.tv. KDXE, Kamek Village, Little Rock.
Breaking news this hour from Town Hall. I'm Rich Thomason. The United Arab Emirates' only nuclear power plant has been targeted by a drone strike. No major damage, no radiation leaks have been reported. There's been no claim of responsibility, although suspicion falls on Iran. President Trump spoke with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Shortly afterward, he wrote on social media that Iran, to quote the president, better get moving fast or there won't be anything left of them. It's a long, slow trip into work this morning for tens of thousands of commuters who rely on New York's Long Island Railroad. A strike has shut down the LIRR, the largest commuter railroad in North America. Another round of contract talks slated for today. A cruise ship at the center of an international health alert has finally ended its long, tumultuous voyage.
The cruise ship hit by a deadly hantavirus outbreak has docked at the Dutch port of Rotterdam for disinfection, wrapping up a troubled journey that has put international health authorities on alert. The MV Hondius was carrying 25 crew members and 2 medical personnel as it reached Rotterdam on Monday morning after all the passengers disembarked elsewhere. AP reports people boarding the boat were wearing white hazardous materials suits. A short distance from where the ship docked, authorities have set up white containers along the water in between a line of windmills. The crew will enter immediate quarantine. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
Congo's health minister announcing the opening of 3 Ebola treatment centers in the country's east. It comes as Congo grapples with an outbreak of a rare variant that has no approved therapeutics or vaccines. More than 300 suspected cases, 88 deaths have been reported in Congo and 2 in Uganda. On Wall Street, ahead of this morning's opening bell, the Dow futures up 68 points. NASDAQ futures ahead 164. More on these stories, townhall.com.
Ready for a bathroom upgrade that won't disrupt your life? Jacuzzi Bath Remodel is here to help. Take the stress out of renovations with quick, professional service from the name America trusts. Affordable, stunning selection of tubs and showers, each designed with style, safety, and your budget in mind. With customizable features like grab bars and seats, your new bath or shower will meet your entire family's needs.
I absolutely love my new bathroom. It's very hard to believe that they get it done in one day. Jacuzzi really outdid themselves.
Right now, we're waiving all installation costs, plus offering no interest and no payments for up to 1 year. Call now to schedule your free design consultation and quote. Call 800-486-3395. That's 800-486-3395. 800-486-3395. With purchase and installation, financing through third-party lenders, subject to credit approval. No interest and no payments if paid in full within 12 months. Interest charged from purchase date if not paid in full. Not all will qualify. Call dealer for details.
With your news flash, I'm Trey Westerberg, 101.1 The Answer. Receive your dental implants and new smile in as little as 1 day with Little Rock's dental implant specialist, Dr. Samuel F. Jurek, DDS. Schedule your consultation now at JurekDDS.com. Starbucks says it will cut about 300 corporate jobs and close several underused U.S. offices as part of a restructuring plan. The company says store workers are not affected. Donor pledges have temporarily reinstated the University of Arkansas men's and women's tennis programs after an April cut, with officials saying funding is a short-term fix while they pursue a long-term endowment to keep both teams viable beyond the 2026-27 season. Residents in Conway are protesting a proposed $1 billion data center campus on Lolly Road, citing concerns over tax incentives, water use, and power demand tied to the roughly 300,000 square foot project linked to an unnamed Fortune 100 company. Organizers say they plan to continue demonstrations until they receive more transparency from city officials. I'm Trey Westerberg with your news flash on 101.1 The Answer.
With your sports flash, I'm John Thayer on 101.1 The Answer. Arkansas softball team is on to super regional play with the Razorbacks are set to host Duke. The best of 3 series is set to begin on Friday and continue Saturday. The if necessary game 3 is Sunday. The winner of the best of 3 series will advance to the Women's College World Series. Arkansas baseball team, the 7th seed in the SEC tournament. Razorbacks play on Wednesday in the second round against either Tennessee or South Carolina. Central Arkansas will play tomorrow evening in the first day of the ASUN tournament. They'll take on Stetson. Major League Baseball action yesterday. The Royals beat the Cardinals 2-0. Kansas City is now 20-27, while the Cardinals drop to 27-19. Northside Power, your trusted name when the power goes out. Generators isn't something they do. It's all they do. Find out more at northsidepower.com. I'm John Thayer with your Sports Flash on 101.1 The Answer.
Larry Elder warns of trusting this regime.
Unclear whether Iran has agreed to permanently suspend its pursuit of a nuclear bomb. This is an evil, evil regime. They have been at war against us for 47 years. And there's no reason to believe that it is some sort of deal, that they will stick to it, they will abide by it, that they won't break it.
The Larry Elder Show. Weeknights at 6, right before Hugh Hewitt at 9 on 101.1 The Answer.
All right, so they were just talking about the Lady Razorbacks going to the Super Regionals now. They won their regional over the weekend. Only took them the typical 3 games to do it, but it was interesting when you look at collegiate fast pitch softball now, how much parity there is out there. I mean, there's teams that weren't supposed to lose that were losing in the first round, and they can thank God that it was double elimination, as far as that goes. But anyway, congratulations to the Lady Razorbacks. I think they run ruled in 2 of the games over the weekend.
Wow,
they did well. Now is the big thing they got to get through. They got to get through the supers, and if they win their super regional, they will make their way to Oklahoma City to be in the World Series. And our season typically has always come at an end in the super regional because we got to play Oklahoma to get to Oklahoma City for the World Series. And Oklahoma, they're the school that were the first school that really took, I think, women's fast pitch softball seriously, and they've won out of the last 5 World Series, they've won 4 of them.
That's not bad.
No, that's
consistent. I know.
Yeah, I know that's. I know who I'm going to lay money on if I'm going to bet on it. To be honest with you, as far as that's concerned, but that's what I got ESPN and ESPN Plus, so I've watched a lot of fast pitch this year. But what's been fun is seeing the Razorbacks have a great season like they have. I think they've lost 2 games, and their super arm got beat at the end of the year a couple of times, and she didn't start any of the regional games. I think there's a good reason for that. I don't know if she's got in Major League Baseball, you would say that you had a dead arm. Your arm just runs out of oomph, and you can't throw it as fast. You can't make the curve snap as what you want to, because 162 games in a season, and you're going every 4 days. Usually, although some teams have gone to every 5th day, you better have trained yourself over the years to be able to do that,
or have lots of backup.
Or you better have a really good bullpen. Look, in baseball now, a pitcher, if he gives you 5 really good innings, he's done his job.
Right.
Then you got middle relievers, and then you got closers. It's not too long ago that it used to be when they hand the pitcher the ball, they were expecting you to go 9 innings.
Absolutely, I remember.
And Nolan Ryan used to say that.
Right.
Got to go 9 innings. And now they don't say that.
Well, you don't want to wear out your good health.
Yeah. You get out there, and now when I was in college, I was considered a fireballer because I could consistently throw in the low 90s. Now I'd be looking at being just an average arm.
Right.
I can't tell you how many players I hear today will be talking about them. They say they throw 100 miles an hour.
I've seen kids in the 8th grade throwing 90 these days. I have. My son recently came up playing baseball, and there were kids that he was playing with in 8th grade that were throwing 90. And I never threw 90 miles an hour. I never threw 85.
Yeah. I could whiz the ball pretty doggone good, but I blew out my shoulder too. It's just, the more you throw that hard, the more chance you're going to have, injuries along the way. When I look at Major League pitching now, when you look at their starting lineup, I bet you out of 5 that you have that would be your starters, or 4, at least one of them has had, reconstructive surgery on their elbow.
It's common, very common.
And to be honest, having surgery now is totally different. When I blew out my shoulder, I had an orthopedist tell me, well, I can fix it, but you'll probably not be able to throw as hard as you do now. And I can't give you, odds on you'll be able to pitch again. And my father just could not understand why I wouldn't go under the knife. Well, I want more than a 50% chance that when I come out, I'm going to be okay and go. So I moved from the field up to the booth and started doing color baseball games.
But nowadays they have orthoscopic surgery that they just do little holes in there, and they go in and do all the surgery. You don't have a major cut, and that's a big deal nowadays.
Yeah,
especially for old guys. I know that.
Right. Well, they have that Tommy John surgery now.
Oh,
and they come out throwing harder.
Yes, they do. They tighten it all up again.
Yeah,
it's amazing, and that's usually your elbow where they're working on, because. Just think for a moment, if you're not a baseball player, you're throwing the ball overhand. That is the most detrimental motion that you can do to your shoulder. It really is. And now they can, when they shoot the baseball, they've got this over at Dickie Stevens. They got like 62 cameras. And Dickie Stevens, they're mounted. And they're watching everything that the pitcher's doing. They're watching everything that the ball is doing. They know how fast your spin rate is and when you throw a curveball or a slider or whatever, and they know how fast you're throwing it. That's why you'll see pitchers who seem to be having a great game, and it gets into like the 5th inning. Now, it could be the major league club, the Mariners in this case, tells the manager, I don't want that guy throwing over X amount of pitches. He can only throw this many. That's why you see him take them out at times. And people be sitting in a sentence going, oh, what's going on? Well, that's what's going on. There's a different reason why you're in AA than if you're in the majors. Basically, when you get to the majors, you're expected to know what you're supposed to do. And although with pitchers, you're always working on something new, because sooner or later, the hitters are going to figure you out. It's just the way it goes. But bottom line, that's the reason that's going. Anyway, I was talking Chris here before we got on the air, but he said he watched a little Razorback baseball, and I hope the Razorbacks get to be the Omaha Backs again, or
Right.
Omahogs or whatever. I don't think so. I don't think they got the pitching they've had in the past. That guys that take the ball, and the other team's not going to score on you until probably you change pitchers. So
Yeah.
I'm not expecting lots out of the Razorbacks this year past. I don't even know if they'll get through the region, the regionals.
I agree.
We'll have to see.
But we've had a lot of good seasons, though.
Well, yeah, I'm not saying it. When I look at our pitching staff, I got to say Dave Van Horn, in all the years I've watched him pilot the Razorbacks, picked the wrong pitchers this time. He thought they were going to do something else, and they didn't. Or said, yeah, he's really good, but he could be better. And they got a good pitching coach. And he's been around now for years with the Razorbacks. And you say, well, he can get a hold of them and change them. That's what IU fans are saying right now about football. Everybody's saying we're not going to be what we were in the past. I beg to differ. Cignetti is a quarterback coach. He was when he was with Saban. And that's why, he took Mendoza, who was only, a 2-star, and he finished up being a star and won the Heisman Trophy. So it'd be interesting. They got this kid coming in from, I think it was TCU. And he's a real fireballer, and he's got a real nasty slider. And it's going to be interesting to see slider. It's he's throwing a football, so he's not better not be throwing a slider. But he's pretty good at being able to thread the needle, and but he threw a lot more picks than what Mendoza did. Well, I say that he gets in the Cincinnati way of doing things. I bet you he gets a whole lot better doing that stuff. He won't be throwing as many picks. He'll be saying, you only throw there if you absolutely have to,
right?
Because that window's small. Enough about sports. I mean, I guess started on talking about sports, although I'm beginning to believe this whole thing going on in Iran is a game.
It's all a game.
I don't understand. I do not understand why the president keep on saying, again, I use this as an illustration. It's like the parent who looks at their 3-year-old and say, you touch that again and I'm going to spank you. And then they touch it and you don't do nothing about it. And you tell them you're going to spank them like 5 times in a row. You don't follow through with it. And you act surprised that the kid did it again. And then you tear into them, It's just consistency is the main thing. And especially with Iran, because in an Eastern mind thought, they don't care. I think they would sign, an agreement saying that they give up, they quit, they won't fight anymore, knowing in the back of their mind, we are going to fight some more as soon as we can rebuild, and that's where the Iranians are. It's the way they think. They don't see it as lying.
I see a couple of things there that I see, consistency, just like in baseball or anything else, any of the other games, including the Northern Iran stuff, is being consistent is one of the hardest things to do, or hardest things from your perspective, from a spectator type perspective. It's you're trying to figure out why is he doing it, or what causes that. So I think what's happening, and this is one of those I think things, which is an opinionated thing. So I think that he's trying to build a coalition with other countries to say, look, I've held off, I've been patient, I've done everything I can, right? I need your help to help put pressure on this, because it's hard to argue with somebody that's been patient that could literally destroy them, right? But he would end up probably hurting a lot more people, a lot of innocent people, rather than that. The other thing is that you're still controlling the oil, no matter what. And the oil drives everything in this country and all the world. You basically control the oil in Venezuela, and then he turns around and he's controlling the oil in the Strait of Hormuz there in the Middle Eastern countries. But he's still getting oil out, and he's trying to drive. I think he may be trying to drive that need for oil to come to daddy, type thing. Come over here to daddy. This is where you need to come to. And so everything starts to migrate toward the United States. The other thing, to be the oil supplier of the world, right? We not only have the oil, but we can also control the oil around the world. I first was a little apprehensive about saying, it's all about the oil, but it is. It is about the oil. If you control the oil and who can have that, what do you have? You have control over China, communist China. You have control over the rest of Europe. And what are they going to do? Who are they going to come to? So you're the only one that has control over the energy source here, unless they come up with something else that's reasonable, not solar or anything like that, but something else that's reasonable, that they can say they come up with hydrogen cars, for instance, where you can actually just put water in there and it actually generates the hydrogen, does electrolysis through there and generates hydrogen, and then you basically change the dynamics of that. But you're going to have to change a lot of the vehicles too.
Well, to be honest, Trump has done more to change the Middle East than any president before. I got to give him credit in that, even though, let's say that Iran doesn't capitulate, don't get down on their knees and say, well, Uncle, like what the president wants them to do. He's destroyed their military. I mean, destroyed it. As he likes to say, they used to have 159 boats. Well, they still do, but they're all submarines.
Right.
They're
at the bottom of.
And even if they've got
ocean.
armament that's still in the mountains that are hiding inside the mountains underground, what happens? You got to bring it out sometime. So what you do, you just keep saying, well, they're going to bring it out any time. Yeah. And you have eyes on it all the time. Every bit of that country has eyes on it. So if anything comes out of a mountain or anything, they know exactly where to put their they can be very specific as far as putting a bomb in that thing and taking care of it, whether it be a bunker buster or whatever. But they know exactly where to put it at.
All right. Let you guys think about this, and then we'll come back and talk about it. And that is, when's the shooting going to start again? Because that's the question. Because the president said that if we have to, we can literally destroy Iran, and the Israelis have been holding their hand off of Iran and taking care of Hezbollah right now. But the bottom line is, I think there's another part of the shooting war that's going to happen. Let's talk about that when we come back. You're listening to the Dave Ellswick Show, 101.1. The Answer, back in about 3 minutes.
Not only for our future, but that of our children and grandchildren. How do we ensure they have it better than we do? One way is to keep listening to us. We're your information source in the battle. 101.1, The Answer. This is 101.1, The Answer, where Little Rock comes to talk. Start your morning with a voice you know and trust. Dave Ellswick, bringing you the issues that matter to Arkansas, the news behind the headlines, and conversations you won't hear anywhere else. Then, in the afternoon, stay informed and fired up with Doc Washburn, breaking down the biggest stories of the day and what they mean for you. And all day long, hear from some of the biggest voices in talk radio. CNN's Scott Jennings, Mike Gallagher, and Larry Elder, bringing you sharp insight, lively debate, and the perspective you've been looking for. News, opinion, insight, and the conversations shaping our community. From Little Rock to the natural state and beyond. This is 101.1, The Answer. 101.1, The Answer, where Little Rock comes to talk.
The price of gold is surging to new highs. It's already topped $5,000 an ounce. The only question is, how much money will you make when gold hits $6,000 an ounce? Investors like you have made small fortunes off the run-up in precious metals, and not just with gold stocks or ETFs. Many have taken advantage of a little-known gold investment officially released by the U.S. government. Now you can too, when you get our free special report from veteran trader and investor Jim Woods. It's called Gold Wealth Boosters. This new report outlines amazing gold investments that have returned 12 to 26 times more than investing in gold bullion itself. Given the uncertainty in world markets, the investments outlined in Jim Woods' Gold Wealth Boosters report are crucial in 2026, and it's free. To get your free Gold Wealth Boosters report, log on to EagleGoldReport.com. EagleGoldReport.com. That's EagleGoldReport.com.
The news never stops, and neither does your schedule. That's why we're here, keeping you up to date with all the biggest stories of the day. We're 101.1, The Answer, where Little Rock comes to talk. You can watch the show right now. The Dave Ellswick Show is streaming live on Facebook. This is 101.1, The Answer.
So we've got several newspapers and social media sites all talking about what Trump is going to do. And Trump, over the weekend, warned Iran again that, quote, the clock is ticking, unquote. When Trump got back from Beijing, which was I think, Saturday afternoon. You wanted to see what happens this week after meeting with the head of the Chinese government as the Iranian regime continues to demonstrate their true colors. The report comes from Axios, and they said President Trump told Axios in a phone call that the clock is ticking for Iran and warned that if the Iranian regime doesn't come with a better offer for a deal, quote, they are going to get hit much harder. I don't know how much harder they can hit. There's not an Air Force and there's not a Navy anymore. All that they have are what troops they have on the ground that stay there and fight. But the military isn't getting paid anymore.
And it's not just the military that they've lost everything. They've also losing their economy.
All the banks and everything have already gone under. Trump is expected to convene his top national security room and the Situation Room tomorrow to discuss military options. That's according to U.S. officials. Trump spoke Sunday with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu about the situation in Iran. Trump met Saturday with members of his national security team at his Virginia golf club to discuss Iran, a source with knowledge said. Attendees included Vice President J.D. Vance, White House envoy Steve Witkoff, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and the CIA Director John Ratcliffe. The state of play. Pakistan's Interior Minister visited Tehran on Saturday and Sunday for talks with senior Iranian leaders about the deal for ending the war. Pakistan is the original mediator between the U.S. and Iran, so they'll be watching to see what Pakistan has to say. I think the Iranian people that still are in charge realize that they can't win this war. I don't see how they can't not see that. So
I think I have a different perspective.
Maybe something happens this week. Maybe it takes 2 more weeks. But I do believe there's going to be a change in the way Iran is doing things, or their regime is going to be on the ash heap of history. Because I've heard that, Tehran, they still got control of Tehran, but a lot of the outlying cities, the people have rose up and taken them over.
It seems to me it's a lot like China was way back in the days. China used to basically think they were the world before, they were basically closed in. Everybody else was Neanderthal. And then China started, and China probably has a little bit of that mindset still, that they're the center of the world. Well, Iran, I think, is doing the same thing. They have multiple armies. that they're scattered everywhere, which are the terrorists.
All right, we got to take a break. We got news coming up for you. We want to catch up on what is happening, in other places in the world. We'll see what the national news has to say about the president and what he might have up his sleeve. So we'll do that after the news, which is coming up from SRN right now.
With SRN News, I'm Rich Thomason in Washington. The United Arab Emirates' only nuclear power plant has been targeted by a drone strike. No major damage, no radiation leaks have been reported. There's been no claim of responsibility, although suspicion falls on Iran. President Trump spoke with Israel's prime minister and shortly afterward wrote on social media that Iran, quote the president, better get moving fast or there won't be anything left of them. It's a long, slow trip into work this morning for tens of thousands of commuters relying on New York's Long Island Railroad. The strike has shut down the LIRR. Another round of contract talks is scheduled for later this morning. Congo's health minister announcing the opening of 3 Ebola treatment centers in the country's east. It comes as Congo grapples with an outbreak of a rare variant that has no approved therapeutics or vaccines. More details at srnnews.com.
Progressive presents Perfectly Bad Excuses for Missing Stuff to Spend More Time on Your Motorcycle.
Hey, Tom. Gonna miss the 5K. Gotta organize my vitamins. A, B, C. There's so many. D.
Now that was a bad excuse. If you love your vehicle this much, get customized coverage from Progressive, America's #1 motorcycle insurer. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, not available in D.C.
Hi, Rhett Rasmussen of BestHotGrill.com. Step up your grilling game with our Solaire portable infrared grills. Our compact everywhere is a favorite of RVers and trailer pullers. Solaire infrared provides the quick sear for bar marks and texture needed to properly finish sous vide. Use a portable alongside your larger conventional grill to create an instant sear zone and more juicy and flavorful food. Learn more at BestHotGrill.com. Affordable, powerful, portable infrared grills at BestHotGrill.com.
Do you have a child or grandchild about to turn 26? Hi, it's Doc Washburn. My friend Tammy Chase is a local insurance professional who meets with you in person. She takes the time to listen and understand your needs. Tammy will explain all the options available in plain language that's easy to understand. She loves to help people, and she's an expert you can trust. Call my friend Tammy Chase for expert help in making it easy. Tell her Doc sent you. TammyChaseInsurance.com.
As veterans, we're no strangers to helping others.
It's what we were taught, trained, and told to do.
It could be for anything. Helping a friend move.
Listening to a fellow veteran for hours, at any hour of the day.
Or just simply making time for people. A neighbor, a loved one, or even a stranger.
We're often the first to help others. There's no question about it.
But we do have one question for the veterans listening.
When was the last time you reached out for help?
Perhaps it's time to do for yourself what you would do for others.
If you or someone you know needs resources, whether it's for stress, finances, employment, or mental health, don't wait. Reach out.
Find more information at va.gov/reach. That's va.gov/reach.
Brought to you by the United States Department of Veterans Affairs and the Ad Council.
Alex Marlowe sees good news on the economy.
Economy added 115,000 jobs in April. 115,000 jobs in this economy is a lot, and it's much bigger than the forecast from Wall Street, which were about 55,000. Back-to-back monthly job gains for the first time in about a year. Another good sign. This signals the labor market is re-accelerating.
The Alex Marlowe Show, weekday mornings at 11 on 101.1. The Answer. Dave Ellswick is the conservative voice of Arkansas, and he's back. 101.1, The Answer.
All right, let's look at it further over in the Middle East, because that's where all the news is going to be made for today, I believe. Although you never know, something can happen that will get some of your eyes, and you'll start clicking over to read the story. And, you know, a lot of times we're kind of like the dog in the movie Up, you know, squirrel, you know, he'll be talking about something and suddenly he's talking about the squirrels that he wants to chase out there. But it's going to be interesting to see what the president does next. And here's the key. I don't have as much information as the president does. And I allow that whatever his security team and the generals and the people who are keeping up on this stuff a lot closer than me, what they want and how they think they can go about and doing it. I believe that the president is a president that doesn't want to kill a lot of innocent people. And Val and I talked about this a couple of weeks ago when, Trump was talking about taking out the power plants and the bridges. So what did the Iranian government do? They put out a bunch of people at the power plants and at the bridges so that if Trump did want to take them out, he took out a lot of innocent civilians as well. But the president's not stupid. He's not going to do that. And he didn't. He didn't attack them. However, now that there's been an ongoing effort to come to an agreement on the peace terms, and this last offering from the regime was, you'll let us have 15 years that we don't have to worry about you ever attacking us again, and we might end up with an atomic weapon or whatever. They're putting things in to their proposals that they know the president is not going to agree to. And I think the people in Iran are understanding that as well. Of course, knowing and putting up with it and attacks if he starts hitting the electrical grid and stuff like that can make it tough. Yes. What do you want to say?
I have a different take on this. Like, after UAE left OPEC, that's when Iran started attacking all of their oil export areas, their nuclear areas. I think there's some state-sponsored terrorism going on here from the person or the state who benefits most for UAE failing after leaving OPEC. Because it literally, if they fail, then no other states are going to leave OPEC, and that's a cartel, and they're the ones that determine the gas prices, the high. You know how OPEC works. Yeah. So I feel like I have a problem that we say we've taken out all of Iran's infrastructure, yet they just keep on. So someone is funneling money to them. Whether it be Saudi Arabia, Russia, China, somebody's funneling money to them, and they're also guiding them. Because if we've taken out all of their leaders, we've taken out all of their infrastructure, how are they continuing on?
Well, we haven't taken, from the articles I've read, we've not taken out everybody. It's just that nobody wants to be the person that sticks their head up and gets hit in the head in a game of whack-a-mole. I mean, I remember the first time that they were supposed to meet in Pakistan with the American negotiation team, and they wanted the president to guarantee them that they wouldn't get killed if they showed up in mass, 4 people or whatever, to work out a peace proposal.
I just feel like maybe that's why they're prolonging this, though, so that they can continue to take out the UAE infrastructure under the guise of this is from the war. You know what I mean? I think there's 2 separate conflict things going on here.
Well, the UAE now is attacking Iran.
Well, but I think the other people
never been seen over in the Middle East.
But I think earlier the Bible guys were talking about how I think that the other guys are going to come to their rally, but I don't know, they might be seeing the same thing that I'm seeing. Like, this is over them leaving OPEC, because Iran also gained from them being part of OPEC.
Well, they were already attacking them. The Iranians, hunters will understand what I'm saying here. If you wound an animal, you don't kill it, you wound it. It is more dangerous at that moment than it was when it wasn't wounded. It will do very illogical things because it's been wounded. And that's where Iran is right now.
But so is OPEC.
OPEC is all right now.
I don't know about that, Dave.
I think that most of the Middle Eastern countries right now,
they've had enough of Iran. I'll tell you that.
I think they really want somebody else to take them out. Says, look, we need to get rid of these radical Muslims. They're not us. And you see, actually, the Turks are coming down, and they've got Turkish groups that are saying, we'll go in on foot, we'll take them out, right? And the problem is that you have Saudi Arabia, you have the United Arab Emirates, you have
Bahrain, you've got all of them now.
Now, when you start seeing the Middle Eastern countries start to pick on Iran, it's almost like, we want you to take them out. We're because they're sending stuff, they're firing off stuff just like you said. You wound an animal like that, he's liable by his owner, and that may be what's happening. And so we just need to take care of that leadership out there, because we didn't really have a problem with Iran to start with until we started getting in the radical groups. And now we've got the world looking at us like we're the ones producing these terrorists and we're supporting Iran and stuff. And they say, that's not us.
Yeah.
And I think that may be what's happening.
Well, it's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
Wayne, it really is. What's your thoughts on it, Chris?
I think a lot of what Val said is very reasonable. Also what you said, Dave, there's so much that we don't know, the information that we don't have, that Marco Rubio and that President Trump are working with.
Well, they know a lot of stuff that we don't know.
Exactly.
And that's what's, if there's one thing that I got from Donald Rumsfeld the several times that I had him on the air, was that there's the stuff that you know, the stuff that you don't know, and then there's the stuff that you don't know that you don't know.
Right.
Right.
And then, I think that's the biggest part of it. We have a lot of opinions, and that's this and anything else, where we're not working with all the information. But certainly what Val said, there's a lot of people that have a vested interest in what happens here. We've driven up the price of oil on China. That was intentionally, right? They have an interest in investing in getting that back to where it was, and us not controlling that, right?
Well, look, they get 20% of their oil from Iran. However, UAE and I think Bahrain are number 2 and 3, and then Venezuela was number 4.
Right.
So we've cut them from 2 of their sources.
Right. And what do you do to your opponents? You starve them to death. You sit back and let them get hungry.
Yeah, siege mentality.
Huh?
A siege mentality.
That's right. And it's not a scorched earth mentality. You just want to go and just tear up everything, which a lot of people are behind that. But sometimes being patient and just kind of starving them to death, right? And knowing that, and they know that they're having a problem. Their economy is going south on them. They no longer have a military to support them. They have the world is starting to take a different view of Iran. So wait a minute, he's giving them plenty of chances to come back to the table and talk. And all we want them to do is just get rid of the nuclear capability and promise you'll stop the terrorism, right? So you just basically take away those armies that Iran has built, those terrorist armies around the world. You take those away from them and their military, and you take their economy away from them and their oil away from them, their only products that they have. I want to see them sell tomatoes and watermelons on the side of the road somewhere. Is what Frank says. Let's just start.
Yeah, we want you to be a roadside farmer instead of a superpower.
Yeah,
right. Well, and that's part of the OPEC issue. Like, if a UAE proves that they can thrive independently without OPEC, they can increase their profits, and they built more infrastructure over the last couple of years to produce more oil because they want to produce more oil. But if they maintain global influence, like outside of the OPEC cartel, then other countries might ask, why are we still limiting ourselves too? Like, this could fundamentally change the global oil system, and dictates who's in charge.
I don't disagree with what you're saying.
Right.
There.
And that's a big deal.
Yes.
I mean, that's what the president is doing. He is changing the whole complexion of the Middle East right now.
Mm-hmm.
The people that used to be the big bad bullies on the block are not that any longer. And, Bahrain and the UAE and all the other, even Saudi Arabia are more than happy to have the Iranians be beaten to the ground, because they've been nothing but a scourge to them over the last 40 years as well.
Think about this, Dave. If somebody's giving you a bad, you're pretty well a lot of Muslims in that part of the region, and you're getting a bad rap.
Can I say that's an understatement?
But you're getting a bad rap. You're getting a bad rap over somebody else, and that's our religion they're talking about. And you think about the terrorist groups that are out there that says, you know, like even in the over there in our the area that they just got through bombing over there, and they had the hostages over there in Israel.
Okay.
And over there,
Hamas
had, they wouldn't even let anybody from that region over there come into Saudi Arabia or Egypt or any of the others. They wouldn't let them. So we, you know, and everybody's saying, why don't we just let those refugees go to these other countries?
They wouldn't take them.
They wouldn't even take them. And
you know why?
Yeah, because you might have
Egypt had already had their fill of the Muslim Brotherhood, and Jordan as well.
And so I think, you know, they're saying, that's why I say they're going back to the United States. That, well, you know, we'd like you to take these guys out. We know what the problem is, and we can kind of help you, but we can't come out publicly and say it.
We'll do it overtly or covertly. We won't do it overtly out in the open.
And overly, if you really think about it, we're going to take your Navy plumb out.
They're fighting three different wars, or different wars. I mean, China's fighting an economic war, and we're fighting a war for power, but they're fighting a war for religion. And you got to remember that what everybody else's motivation is.
You don't be drawn in as you know, we're friends with bad guys, right? You know, you have to be careful who you choose your friends, who your friends are,
right, and
who you associate with. And I think that a lot of the Middle Eastern countries, other Middle Eastern countries, go and said, "Man, these are some guys that we really don't want them, you know, part of us. We don't even be associated with them."
And we can take the infrastructure for them building nuclear weapons right now, but to think that we're going to stop them, we'll have to stop them again. They've been doing this for more years than the United States has been around, right?
Everybody doesn't want boots on the ground, and I understand that. But I'm going to tell you this much. We'll have to put boots on the ground to go get that 600 pounds of high prepared uranium for a nuclear weapon that's buried in Iran right now. They're not going to, can't let the Iranians dig that up and get their hands on it.
That's got to be part of the agreement that he's working on, that you're going to walk us through the door and we're going to get this without a problem, and you're not going to fight us the whole way.
Something else, I think that the Iranians may be waiting, because we have this election system that goes every 2 years to 4 years.
They're trying to wait it out.
And they try to wait it out. And the thing is that Trump has started right now at the early stages, because, you know, think what he's done in the first year he's been in. Think about the second year, and you still got, 3 more years.
We got 2.5 years left.
2.5 years to get a lot of things done, and you're pressuring them. Now you also think about the people that are controlling money right now in the world. You know, the big boys. You know, the World Bank type thing, and they understand the dynamics associated with oil. Who controls oil in the country or around the world.
All right. It's about 10 minutes until 9 o'clock. We got going to take a break, and then we'll come back and talk further about the Middle East here on the Dave Ellswick Show.
Looking for heavy equipment but don't know where to buy? Purple Wave Auction has you covered. Always online and always no reserve. It's your destination for construction or ag equipment ready to work. We even sell semis, trailers, and fleet equipment for your operation. Best part? It's free to join. Head to purplewave.com. That's purplewave.com. Sign up for a free account and start bidding today. Purple Wave Auction, the easiest and most straightforward way to buy and sell equipment.
Feel like you're trying to push a boulder uphill wearing skates? If you run or manage a local business today, you're challenged like never before. We get it, and we want to help. We're Salem Surround. We're a full-service marketing agency that'll help you increase your customer base by designing incredibly effective plans to reach your consumers day, night, and everywhere they might be.
If you're a local business and ready for the next step, Google Salem Surround Little Rock today. Our experts are ready to help you take your marketing to the next level.
In a world where more and more people decide what's right and wrong based on how they feel, what happens when feelings become the only moral standard? If emotions alone define truth, then who decides why murder, theft, or violence are wrong? And if someone feels justified in destroying property or harming others, on what basis can society say they're wrong? For 50 years, Dennis Prager has challenged audiences around the world to think deeply about the moral foundations of civilization. In his new book, If There Is No God, he confronts the biggest questions of human existence. Why does evil go unpunished? Why do innocent people suffer? And can morality survive without God? Whether a believer, a skeptic, or somewhere in between, this book offers serious answers for a morally confused age. Clear, provocative, and accessible. If There Is No God by Dennis Prager. Available now at PragerStore.com. That's PragerStore.com. Scott Jennings thinks Iran is oblivious.
According to Iranian state TV, they want three things: U.S. war reparations, recognition of its sovereignty over the Strait of Hormuz, and an end to American sanctions. Those first two are clearly non-starters, and the third is only possible if Iran gives up its nuclear program, which so far it has resisted.
The Scott Jennings Show, weekdays at noon, right before Hugh Hewitt at 2 on 101.1 The Answer. Now, back to the Dave Ellswick Show, 101.1, The Answer.
All right, back with you on the Dave Ellswick Show. I was just thinking over the weekend, I don't put my brain in a jar and sit it on my nightstand when I get home on Friday, and then I put it back in on early Monday morning when I'm, heading in here to do my show. I'm thinking all weekend long. I'm watching the news. That's the news you really got to watch. Ray Lincoln, when I used to work with him, used to say, if you want to know what's going on, read the Saturday paper, because that's where they try to they try to bury the news.
That's why I call it the Friday news dump.
Yeah, and that's important for you to keep that in mind. Well, when you look at what's going on right now, there was first of all, I am so happy that Kamala is not president.
Right?
I just want you to think about what would she be doing right now. I can tell you this much: the Democrats would be spending money big time, hand over fist.
God is good.
Yeah. So I'm glad that our president is in the Oval Office and taking care of things. I mean, what has happened to Iran should have happened 30 years ago, to be honest with you. We shouldn't have had to wait any 47 years to take care of these despots over in Iran.
It's because I think politics took over, and I'm talking about the political animal took over, and then you said, okay, Iran's not a big problem. Let's talk about it.
Mm-hmm. Sorry.
Yeah. It's tough. I'm just telling you, it's really tough. Now, on top of that, think about this, that there was a drone strike over the weekend. You may not have heard about it. You've been busy doing the things that you want to do, and maybe you were up at the Lady Razorbacks, watched them play in the regionals, or went and watched the Diamondbacks do their thing on the road, because they're getting ready now for the SEC tournament in Hoover. So you got those type of things going on, and there's all kinds of new movies out and things of that nature that you may not have heard about. This drone strike where Iran tried to take out a United Arab Emirates nuclear power plant. I don't know if both of you are even been keeping up with this close enough to know that they tried to rupture a power plant in UAE, and they did not get done what they wanted to do. Since the war began, Iran has launched almost 3,000 drones and missiles against the UAE, attacking Gulf states in an attempt to raise the cost of the conflict against the U.S., its regional allies, and the global economy. The UAE Foreign Ministry said the attacks, quote, constitute a dangerous escalation, an unacceptable act of aggression, and a direct threat to the country's security. That was reported in the Financial Times.
And I was sitting on the beach, and I even heard about it. I was sitting on the beach this past Saturday, and
where were you at?
It's undisclosed.
Oh, okay. Is it one of the beaches here in the state?
I just basically left on Friday afternoon or Friday evening,
and
just got there on the beach on Saturday morning, and sat on the beach all day Saturday without any other interruption. But I still heard about that when I got back in the car, and then we came back yesterday. We just run down there for the day.
Well, I'll be honest. When I go on vacation, everybody knows it's going to be I'm going to start Labor day after Labor Day, and for 2 weeks I'll be down in Florida. I turn my phone off. I reach up and flip the switch, and I put myself where I'm not.
Do you really?
Yeah.
That's what I was doing Saturday. Basically, just flip the switch and you don't.
I gotta have some time to, just kind of decompress and not try to keep up with everything. And that's what I do. Now, about 2 days before I come back, I turn my phone back on and I catch up on everything.
It doesn't take much to catch up on.
No, well, it doesn't really change all that much.
No.
I mean, will people still hate Trump? Yeah, and that's a no-brainer. I think that we'll be done with the whole Iranian deal by then. But what's going on now with China? I don't expect China to declare war on the United States, nor do I expect Russia to declare war on the United States. If they have learned one thing about us, is that we can do exactly what we said that we could do with our military. Not so much. Russians can't say that anymore. They've lost over 1,000 or 1 million people fighting the Ukraine war.
That's the difference between capitalism and communism or socialism, either one, is that capitalists can actually react very quickly. Okay, they really can. People invest in it. People investing in communism and socialism. Who's going to invest in those?
Yeah, I'm with you. Is Al-Din al-Hada, who is he was the number 2 terrorist for Hamas and Hezbollah, and he was the head of military operations for Hamas after the death of Sinwar. Subsequently, the death of Mohammed Sinwar was a big thing. The IDF said the IDF and the ISA announced that yesterday, that was Friday, in a precise strike in the area of the city of Gaza, the terrorist Haddad was eliminated. Haddad was head of Hamas's military wing, one of the architects of the brutal October 7th massacre. Throughout the war, Haddad was involved in the holding of many Israeli hostages in Hamas captivity. Haddad managed a Hamas hostage captivity system and surrounded himself with hostages in an attempt to prevent his elimination. Haddad is one of the longest-serving commanders in Hamas, having joined the terrorist organization during its early establishment and maintained close ties with Hamas leadership. Throughout his time in the terrorist organization, Haddad played a central role in Hamas's terrorist rule and held a number of senior positions. So he's gone now. That's a big loss for Hamas. And keep that in mind, because Hamas they have not divested themselves of their weapons yet. And they're on the clock with the Israelis about that. We'll pick all this up when we come back. We got news coming up, and then we're back on the Dave Ellswick Show.
In a world of noise, truth cuts through. This is 101.1 The Answer, where Little Rock comes to talk. KDXE, Kamak Village, Little Rock.
Breaking news this hour from Town Hall. I'm Rich Thomason. Make a deal or else. President Trump says Iran, we quote, better get moving fast or there won't be anything left of them. The threat comes as Iran signals it is prepared to resume the fight. Senator Lindsey Graham on NBC's Meet the Press.
I talked to the CIA director yesterday. Is there any evidence that the crowd in charge now is any less committed to destroying Israel, going after us, the great Satan, purifying Islam? I think the answer is no. So weaken them further and you may get a deal later, but you're not going to get a deal with this crowd until you hurt them more.
Tens of thousands of New York commuters have had to find other ways to get to work today. A strike has shut down the Long Island Railroad. Contract talks to resume today. The long, troubled voyage of the Hantavirus cruise ship is finally over. The vessel has docked at Rotterdam for a complete cleaning.
This will mark the end of the MV Hondius's long journey home to the Netherlands after beginning its voyage in Argentina at the start of April. The cruise trip that followed was to become the stuff of nightmares after the emergence of the deadly outbreak that left at least 3 passengers dead. Most of those on board were evacuated last week when the vessel moored off the coast of Tenerife, but a 25-person crew and 2 medical staff remained for the final leg.
That's BBC's Tom Bailey. President Trump is moving to withdraw his $10 billion lawsuit against the Internal Revenue Service over the leak of his tax returns. The president's action follows reports that a resolution of the case was close at hand. All 4 crew members ejected safely after 2 Navy jets collided midair. Happened during an air show yesterday at a western Idaho military base. Watching Wall Street this morning, the Dow is currently up about 149 points. NASDAQ 3 points in the red. More on these stories, townhall.com.
Health insurance rates are surging in America, leaving millions without affordable options. If you're sick of having paychecks eaten up by healthcare costs or dealing with mega corporations, then listen to this. Christians don't need to waste money on a broken system. That's why I want to tell you about Christian Healthcare Ministries. It's an alternative to traditional health insurance at half the cost. With CHM, fellow believers contribute monthly to help pay each other's medical bills. There's no enrollment period, so you can join anytime. And you aren't restricted to provider networks, so you choose the doctors and hospitals you want. It's that simple. CHM is not insurance. It's a ministry that puts faith into action. Feel the difference of financial support and biblical care from fellow believers. Join CHM today by visiting chministries.org/wellness. That's chministries.org/wellness.
With your news flash, I'm Trey Westerberg, 101.1 The Answer. Receive your dental implants and new smile in as little as 1 day with Little Rock's dental implant specialist, Dr. Samuel F. Jurek. DDS. Schedule your consultation now at JurekDDS.com. Donor pledges have temporarily reinstated the University of Arkansas men's and women's tennis programs after an April cut, with officials saying funding is a short-term fix while they pursue a long-term endowment to keep both teams viable beyond the 2026-27 season. Residents in Conway are protesting a proposed $1 billion data center campus on Lolly Road, citing concerns over tax incentives, water use, and power demand tied to the roughly 300,000 square foot project linked to an unnamed Fortune 100 company. Organizers say they plan to continue demonstrations until they receive more transparency from city officials. Starbucks says it will cut about 300 corporate jobs and close several underused U.S. offices as part of a restructuring plan. The company says store workers are not affected. I'm Trey Westerberg with your news flash on 101.1 The Answer.
With your sports flash, I'm John Thayer on 101.1 The Answer. Major League Baseball action yesterday. The Royals beat the Cardinals 2-0. Kansas City is now 20-27, while the Cardinals drop to 27-19. Arkansas softball team is on to super regional play, with the Razorbacks are set to host Duke. The best of 3 series is set to begin on Friday and continue Saturday. The if necessary Game 3 is Sunday. The winner of the best of 3 series will advance to the Women's College World Series. Arkansas baseball team, the 7th seed in the SEC tournament. Razorbacks play on Wednesday in the second round against either Tennessee or South Carolina. Central Arkansas will play tomorrow evening in the first day of the ASUN tournament. They'll take on Stetson. Northside Power, your trusted name when the power goes out. Generators isn't something they do, it's all they do. Find out more at northsidepower.com. I'm John Thayer with your Sports Flash on 101.1 The Answer.
Mike Gallagher sees interesting behavior from the left.
They're so furious that the high court in Virginia ruled against their illegal redistricting scheme that they want to lower the mandatory retirement age to 54 or younger for members of the Virginia Supreme Court. They're nuts.
The Mike Gallagher Show, weeknights at 11 on 101.1 The Answer.
All right, let's get back to it. We're into the 9 o'clock hour. 4 hours they allocate me here on the station are going quickly today. And let's finish up talking about things that are happening in the Middle East. I told you about the head of the terrorists, the head of what's going on with Hamas. And let's talk about Sebastian Gorka said that this an operation that makes any fictional representation look amateurish. American operators working with local Nigerian forces killed Abu Baal al-Minaki, the second in command for ISIS globally in their operation, the man with the blood of countless Christians on his hands. So they got rid of him. I told you about that. An Iraqi man accused of orchestrating nearly 200 terrorist attacks across Europe and plotting attacks on Jewish institutions in the U.S. has been brought to New York now to face federal terrorism charges after what the FBI described as a major international operation. Since early March, Mohammed Bagher Saeed Dawood El Sadid.
You have a time with
That's how I do it too, Dave.
Give me.
I was saying the same thing.
I want a first, middle, and last name at the most.
Right?
I don't need all these. And his associates allegedly planned and coordinated 18 attacks in the name of Ashab el-Yaman, a pro-Iranian Islamic group that is taking credit for attacks against Jewish schools, synagogues, and charities in Europe, as well as American, Israeli, and Iranian opposition targets, according to the FBI. The FBI's successful foreign transfer of custody, or FTOC, of Mohammed al-Sadi, another high-value target responsible for mass global terrorism, is just the latest success in the Trump administration's historic work to bring terrorists to justice. Now, look, you can hate Trump all you want, but there's no arguing with success. And he has been very successful in getting rid of a lot of these cockroaches that are running around the world causing problems.
And that's the thing is, I think because he's been successful, that's why people on the other side hate him, because he's actually shutting them down. All the arguments, all that, he's shutting down the opposition.
So think about it. You've lost the number 2 in command of ISIS. You've lost a Hamas leader that was part of the whole military branch of Hamas. And then you got a couple of other kind of low-level terrorists that are not dead, but they're back in the United States behind bars and are going on trial and going to be put somewhere where they'll never bother anybody again.
Now how do you defend the indefensible? You're getting rid of terrorists, somebody that's literally murdering people left and right.
Oh, but the left doesn't care about that.
No.
It's like I said, you sent me a note yesterday. It says, how stupid is it that you're willing to let Iran have a nuclear weapon, but you won't let your citizens have guns?
Yeah.
I agree wholeheartedly. I mean, when you think about the logic of that, that's the farthest thing from logic that you can have.
And I want somebody from the other side, from the Democrat side, Cam, I want them to defend that.
Well, they'll never have to defend it because the national media doesn't answer the obvious questions most of the time.
Yeah. And that they're hooked on something that's not as important as taking out somebody that has nuclear capability. and destroying us and other people in the world. Think if they take that nuclear weapon that they have and they lobbed it over there in the United Arab Emirates or something like that. Those guys over there thinking the same thing. They're going,
well, everybody says, well, the Hamas can't reach the United States, all right? Well, we know there's sleeper cells here.
Oh, yeah.
But let's say they can't. They can attack any of our military bases that are over in the UAE and in Saudi Arabia and sprinkled across, multitude of countries as we've tried to hem these people in from going out and spreading their terrorism all over the world.
And that's why they try to eliminate all our assets over that area.
Yeah, they're trying, not getting close to it. But I think of Dune, the book written by Herbert, because spice, if you know anything about Dune, is the commodity that they trade from what is it, the planet, was it Iraqi? Was the planet that the revolution was going to launch from. But Herbert later on in life said that spice was the equivalent of Middle Eastern oil, is what he said. So when you read those books, think oil. And he was right. He was right on, because he was talking about the Muslims taking on the Christians. That's exactly what he did. He just didn't call them that. He called them a different name. It's just like when you watch Star Wars and they're calling them the Empire and they don't call them Nazis, because that's what they're based on, the Nazi Germany.
And anytime you have a tyrannical government or authoritarian type government that just basically, you're going to have some pushback. And because they're strictly about power. And about
you're thinking like an Easterner now. That's the key. We try to keep reading things written in the East through a Western lens, and you cannot do that. Mm-hmm. You gotta understand history through their lens, not our lens.
It's a different culture entirely. Yeah. You're right.
You're exactly right there, Dave.
But look, all they understand is power. If you have more power over them, according to much of the literature over history that they've written, it's all right to go along with your captors at that point until you're strong enough to take them on again. And if they beat you, then you rebuild again, and then you take them on again. That is exactly how the Middle East is right now. That's why Trump has been right. You got to know who it is that's in power, and that's who you got to surgically remove from the
you have to
talks.
You have to realize what gives that person power. It gives that group power. And usually when somebody's just concentrating on power, what happens is they lose it eventually, because you can only scare people so long, and then they eventually catch on, and they'll say, "Wait a minute," and they'll go back after you. And then you're not going to have anything to defend you except your power, and even the ones that are supporting you they're going to start questioning your power.
Well, I sit and watch what's going on over in Iran, and I keep wondering, how long it's going to take for the people to really rise up and be done with all of this. And the only reason I can come up with that it hasn't happened already is that they don't have the weaponry that they need to be able to stand toe-to-toe with their, the International Royal Guard or whatever it is, that the IRGC.
Yeah, you look at what motivates people in the world. Is power, money.
And the fear of death.
And the fear of death. That's right.
Fear motivates people.
Fear is the one that actually does it, and it actually becomes a prison. Whenever you're a free person, it actually becomes a prison, your own prison.
Yeah, those people over in Iran right now, I'm sure, if they could go back and change history, maybe the Ayatollah doesn't come back and take over again. Maybe the Shah stays there.
Well, that's how he got in power, is with fear. they thought that the Shah was overstepping his boundaries and stuff like that. And the Shah had some delusions of grandeur type thing. And that's usually whenever they fail, is when you start doing that, then the people start banning you and they start going a different direction.
Yeah, well, we're going to see how it all works out. I think what's going on in the Middle East with Iran to be over within 4 weeks maximum. Now, Iran they have no friends anymore. They are a pariah in the world.
Yes, and that's
a good thing. It's not bad. That's a good thing.
And I think China says we don't be like Bob.
That's exactly what she said. I mean, he basically, I think, tried to let the Iranians know we're not in your corner anymore.
Yep. You know, the Chinese president was here visiting President Trump a couple of days ago, and I think that makes a huge statement. Right.
Now, Xi is supposed to come back to the United States, I think, in October, and they're going to have some high-level meetings at that time. You know, Trump, it upsets people when he says, I count him as a friend. Well, you know, you can like people and they can have different political beliefs, but if they do things that is going to, you know, cause problems here in this country, I believe that Trump firmly falls on America is a nation of destiny and will stay that way as long as we stay the course. And so I'm all about that as well.
I think Trump is basically letting him expose himself.
You think he's letting his enemies be close? What's the old mafia saying? Keep your friends close and your enemies closer?
He's probably saying, y'all are good guys. Really deep down, you're really good guys.
Right.
You just got some weird beliefs and some weird things. If it says, I just want to talk about your actions and the issues that are involving your people. I think that's what it is. It's not so much about the individual, because you can talk. It's the same reason that I think Reagan took. Remember when he went back in the back and said, just you and I talk. When we talk about Gorbachev.
Yes.
He says, let's just go back here in the room. We'll leave all these guys there in the room. And they went back there and they worked out something.
They nailed things together. Yes, they did. They used to meet for dinner all the time at the Irish pub where I used to stay at all the time when I was in D.C., which is on the front side of the Capitol. That side you see all the time across the mall, and they show it. That's the back side of the Capitol. That is not the front side.
Yep.
And so the front side is a beautiful building, but that's where all the work really gets done. And I was 2 blocks from it, and I was 2 blocks from Union Station. And I always thought it was cool because there's a booth you could sit in the Irish pub that where Reagan and Tip O'Neill would have late night dinners together. I guess they ate fish and chips and stuff. I don't know.
And I think that's just not in Washington, D.C. I see it even here in Arkansas. I see places in Arkansas.
Where, go to Doe's sometime.
Yeah, you know, you go
lots
there.
of places,
You used to go to Homer's, and man, you want to see political action, you go to Homer's.
I used to like Homer's over on Roosevelt.
Yeah,
that was a great place. Of course, it's burned down now, and I go to the Homer's that's right across the street from us now.
Yeah,
right here on Rodney Parham.
Right.
And I'll say this. They got great food still, but it doesn't have the same character as the original.
The old place, the
original place on Roosevelt had an atmosphere.
Yes, it was. It was great too.
Yeah, it was a completely different deal. And even when you walked in, you saw that the waitresses and everything were super.
So a lot of the old waitresses from Homer's started a place called Rosie's, and it is out there at 17th and Bond. At the airport next to Central Flying. So
really?
Yeah, and it's a good place.
Well, then I have to get out
plate
there.
lunch, just like it always was.
Yeah. I love that kind of stuff. I like, I would, when I do lunch with people, typically when we were in the big tower, I would say, let's meet over there at the restaurant. What's that restaurant? That's right there on University, across from the hospital. Well,
Cheddar's.
Yeah. I meet people for lunch there. Now it's Homer's too.
Yeah.
Basically, that's where I want to have lunch at.
But that's where, typically, and it's just like going to the Coon Supper down in Gillette. When I first started going down there,
I'll be honest, I don't like raccoon.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, whenever they always served ribs, as an alternate.
Right.
Remember that?
Right.
But I remember you saw several of there was a handful of politicians show up, Arkansas politicians show up there. But lately, man, I mean, they have it's
everybody
shows up.
There.
I don't care what office you're trying to get, everybody shows up to it, and it's kind of lost some of its luster, a little bit of its luster than what it used to have.
It's like the Faded Rose. Same there.
It used to be a hot spot that people went to. The butcher shop used to be another hot spot. Not the butcher shop, but what's the one that serves steaks and just real good. It used to be down there. Just back from Cantrell, going back up, Doe's.
Doe's.
Doe's used to have a lot of.
It still is the place.
Yeah.
Of course, you got to get back to the rooms that have been closed off, and people are eating where they figure nobody can hear what they're talking about.
Yeah. But you knew that they were in there. And but that's the same thing. You go to little towns like Benton and Bryan, and even over in eastern Arkansas and Monroe County. There's other places where there'll be maybe McDonald's.
Yeah,
I've seen a power panel at McDonald's of politicians or those that aren't politicians, but they're the ones that are talking about solutions.
Yep,
talking about the issues and solutions at those things, and it's a round table. Usually, old guys drinking coffee.
9:22, time for a break. We'll do that. We'll be back here on the Dave Ellswick Show. Still got a lot of stuff to talk about today here on 101.1 FM, The Answer.
America is at a tipping point. To ensure we stay the land of the free and home of the brave, you need to be informed and engaged. That's why we're here. 101.1 The Answer, where Little Rock comes to talk.
Right here in our backyard, sellers trust Purple Wave Auction to move their equipment, from excavators and ag equipment to trucks and specialty trailers. Our no-reserve online auctions help local sellers turn iron into opportunity. You get a dedicated territory manager who knows your operation, your market, and your timeline, backed by nationwide buyer demand, local service, national reach, real results. See why more sellers choose Purple Wave. Visit purplewave.com to get started today.
President Trump has triggered a $200 billion tech disruption, and Wall Street is asleep at the switch. This $200 billion investment in chip technology could make today's artificial intelligence chips obsolete. Technology that will make today's AI data centers a thing of the past, like IBM's old mainframes. While most investors are focused on old-fashioned AI, there are three companies quietly building a $1 trillion triangle that could transform every tech sector on Earth. These three companies are gearing up to develop and manufacture supercomputers the size of a dinner plate. Institutions like Vanguard, BlackRock, and State Street are pouring more than $200 billion into this AI revolution. Investment guru George Gilder has been predicting tech revolutions for more than 40 years, including the iPhone, Netflix, and Amazon. Now he's got his finger on three companies whose technology will change tech forever. Log on to TrillionDollarTriangle.com to find out which three companies are working on what could be the biggest tech disruption since the internet. TrillionDollarTriangle.com. That's TrillionDollarTriangle.com.
I'm Ferenc Tove, host of the Your Personal Bank Show. I use common sense as an entrepreneur, financial literacy educator, and speaker to understand how current events affect our money, our economy, and our freedom. Grow your money safely, reduce taxes, increase returns, and create positive arbitrage with Your Personal Bank. Tune in to the Your Personal Bank Show Saturdays at 1 p.m. or contact Ferenc at yourpersonalbank.com. The Your Personal Bank Show Saturdays at 1 p.m. on 101.1 The Answer.
We bring you the biggest news stories of the day. Not to tell you what to think, but to allow you to have the most information so you can make up your mind. 101.1 The Answer, where Little Rock comes to talk. The Dave Ellswick Show is back. 101.1 The Answer.
All right, I'm going to change from international to national news. And I'm going to lean on Chris a little bit here and let him talk about that. They're saying with these redistricting battles that have been going on in the United States that the GOP now looks like they have a pickup of 15 congressional seats. That can change a big blue tidal wave into nothing.
Change the landscape.
Yeah, completely. Yeah. And the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, was a guest of Tony Perkins on This Week on the Hill and was talking about this. And Speaker Johnson said, you had the Virginia Supreme Court correct the hyper gerrymandering that was done in Virginia. And they were trying to hoist upon that state a lot more seats, 7, I think it was. And that they had the U.S. Supreme Court now over the weekend hand down the decision in the Calais case as well, the Louisiana case that said Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act can't be misused to draw congressional lines based on skin color, which has always been a rather obvious prospect. I mean, that's been going on now for decades. And it really did make a major change. And so you now have as many as maybe 6 or 7 states who are in some stage of redistricting, in some kind of process of redrawing their lines to make sure they have constitutional congressional districts. In our case, as you know, in the state of Louisiana, this is the Speaker speaking, the Supreme Court specifically said your current map is unconstitutional. So the legislator had to convene in a quick special session to correct that, because you obviously can have an election based on a blatantly unconstitutional map. And then that court decision then had a reverberating effect across several states, because they had similar situations as they had in my state of Louisiana. We're still awaiting the final sort of the dust to settle out over all of that. But of course, the midterm election is right upon us. November is a faithful decision day coming up for the American people. And you have primaries that have to be determined before that. A lot of going on right now. People have asked me every 5 steps here in Washington, what does this mean for the outcome of the midterms? Well, as you know, I've been very bullish that House Republicans would keep and grow our majority in the House, and will keep it in the Senate. Of course, President Trump will stay in the White House for 2.5 more years. But I think that it does make those prospects even greater by most analysis now. Republicans will probably have as many as 7, could be more, favorable for us when all those unconstitutional lines are corrected, as maybe as double digits, maybe 15 or more. We'll see. But I have to win on whatever maps are produced, Tony. So I'm ready to go either way, is what Johnson had to say. But I would have gone along that the Republicans were going to have a really tough midterm election about 2 months ago. But now with what has happened with the redistricting in Florida, the non-redistricting in Virginia, that's been changed back to what their old maps were, and these other states like Texas and others who have been redistricting, and now a big deal that the Democrats were out for has now turned into a Frankensteinian monster, and is now in the touch of what's going on as far as the Republicans are. We'll talk more about it, but first we've got the news.
Had to find other ways to get to work today. The strike shut down the Long Island Railroad. Contract talks are resuming today. The long troubled voyage of the hantavirus cruise ship is finally over. The vessel has docked in Rotterdam for a complete disinfection. President Trump has moved to withdraw his $10 billion lawsuit against the IRS, stemming from the leak of his tax returns. The president's action follows reports that a resolution of the case was close at hand. On Wall Street, the Dow is up 178 points, while the Nasdaq trading 32 points lower. More details at srnnews.com.
Health insurance rates are surging in America, leaving millions without affordable options. If you're sick of having paychecks eaten up by healthcare costs or dealing with mega corporations, then listen to this. Christians don't need to waste money on a broken system. That's why I want to tell you about Christian Healthcare Ministries. It's an alternative to traditional health insurance at half the cost. With CHM, fellow believers contribute monthly to help pay each other's medical bills. There's no enrollment period, so you can join anytime. And you aren't restricted to provider networks, so you choose the doctors and hospitals you want. It's that simple. CHM is not insurance. It's a ministry that puts faith into action. Feel the difference of financial support and biblical care from fellow believers. Join CHM today by visiting chministries.org/wellness. That's chministries.org/wellness.
The more you listen to your kids, the closer you'll be. So we asked kids, what do you want your parents to hear?
I feel sometimes that I'm not listened to. I would just want you to listen to me more often and evaluate situations with me and lead me towards success.
We're not adults, so just be there and listen. I just want someone to yap to. And I just feel like I'll be fine if someone just hears me talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk.
You're doing a really good job. And I don't think I tell you that enough. And I know sometimes we get into it and it's just hard on both of us. But try to understand me more and I'll try to do the same.
Listening is a form of love. Find resources to help you support your kids and their emotional well-being at sounditouttogether.org. That's sounditouttogether.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and Pivotal.
The Danielle Gill Podcast, now available on the Salem Podcast Network.
Throughout Trump's first administration, the Democrats cried endlessly about foreign collusion and the usurpation of democracy through government abuse and corruption. All the while, they were doing just that. They were colluding with foreign governments, usurp democracy through government abuse, corruption, all of the things.
Subscribe for free today to the Danielle Gill Podcast on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, or at SalemPodcastNetwork.com.
Hi, this is Gordon Deal. Join me weekdays for This Morning, America's First News. Hear the stories you'll be talking about and searching for all day as we go beyond the headlines and above the chatter with your first look at breaking news, money, Washington politics, technology, entertainment, entrepreneurship, and sports. We explain why stories matter. That's why we are referred to as the most important and relevant radio program. Join us weekdays for This Morning, America's First News.
The conservative voice of Arkansas, The Dave Ellswick Show on 101.1. The Answer.
So all of this redistricting stuff that the Democrats have unleashed, and, they've done it in Virginia. Now that's been found unconstitutional. California's got some real problems in trying to get their liberal Supreme Court to allow the map that Newsom's come up with to stand. We'll see if that happens as well. Now, what else happened in local politics? When I say local, I'm talking about the country. Well, a big deal happened over the weekend, and it lets Trump kind of flex his muscles a little bit here. He's he took his shirt off and is striking, Schwarzenegger pose and showing his biceps and stuff.
There's some rat poison. Because
Bill Cassidy is gone. As far as Louisiana politics is concerned, he lost the primary over the weekend. The two-term senator had been a target of Trump for his disloyalty. Now he won't even be on the ballot in November. Julie Letlow, whom Trump had endorsed, won 45% of the vote in Saturday's primary. State Treasurer John Fleming won 25% of the vote. As neither reached the 50% threshold, there's going to be a runoff on June 27th. That's according to the decision desk. President Trump said about Cassidy, his disloyalty got him elected, is now a part of legend, and it's nice to see that his political career is, in all caps, over. I'd like to thank the great people of the state of Louisiana, and this big victory will only make me work even harder for your success and all that comes with it. That was on Truth, Trump's Truth X. The last time a Republican incumbent lost his or her nomination battle was back in 2012 when Indiana Senator Richard Lugar lost to Richard Murdoch. Murdoch went on to lose to Joe Donnelly in November. Julie Letlow is quoted as saying after the primary, "I'm so grateful to President Trump and all he has done to make our community safe for our kiddos, and I will continue fighting for a secure border that he did on day one when President Biden said it was not possible. I'll continue fighting for a strong economy." So that was a big deal going in. Now, today's a big day because Alabama, Georgia, Idaho, Kentucky, Oregon, and Pennsylvania will hold primaries. So we'll see if the people that are backed up by Trump are the ones that win or not.
So they're looking at the same thing. One of the really big ones there is going to be Thomas Massie in Kentucky.
Yep.
Right. How is that going to shake out?
Yeah, when you see pictures of Massey around the White House, he's got X's in his eyes.
Man.
You know what? You got a good point. That's funny. Said got X's in his eyes. Many people don't know what that means.
Yeah. Here's what I'll tell you. It means what's her name up there in Alaska used to say, and she put bullseyes on people until some people said that she was saying that she was saying violence
or
towards
putting pennies on her eyes or something like that.
Yeah, things of that nature. But Massey's I think he's going to find out that he's not as well loved by the people.
Because he's in a different district now.
Yeah, well.
Did you see what he said, though? He said, this race is not about a vote for him or a vote for me. It's a vote about for or against me. How arrogant. Like the other guy is in a Navy SEAL. Like he's like, Massey's like a jerk. Like he's so arrogant. Like
he always has been.
Yeah, I know. Like I was like, okay, so this has
if you
nothing
think
to
Trump
do.
is an egotist, read what Massey says. Holy cow.
Yeah. I was just blown away. I was like, are you serious? You're not President Trump.
Well, there's a lot of people that, because they're talking on the other side about who they're going to run for president. And Bashir is one of them that gets mentioned often. He's the governor of Kentucky, but he's lost his luster here the last couple of months.
Your luster depends on how the district that you're in looks too.
You want to know who's starting to look burnished, looking like they're in the race, and it's Kamala.
Did you hear what she said over the weekend?
Oh yeah. I don't see how anybody that's a Democrat can say, yeah, let's do that race all over again.
No, like she literally is talking about the next Democrat that gets in control should pack the Supreme Court, do away from the Electoral College, and
well, that's what the Democrats want to do. They want Puerto Rico as a state.
Yes, ma'am. But Puerto Rico
DC.
don't want to be a state. They voted against it every time.
They don't care.
Like they're so dumb.
It's not about the people, man. It's about the power.
Right. I mean, I think they should become a state too if they get all our benefits, but they don't pay any taxes to us.
Well,
But they don't want to. It's their vote.
That's what I'd be voting for.
Well, that's what they do, and they vote against it every time. So how do you make someone?
Representation, and I don't have to pay for it.
Right. But they have to vote to become a state. We can't just make them.
No, I can just bring a ton of people across the border like that because I know that we need a new demographic in here because we're losing our base. Wait a minute.
Puerto Rico has some real unique circumstances down there that everybody doesn't know about. They don't have a Republican and Democrat party the way that we do. They have 3 different Puerto Rico specific parties down there. And one of those wants to become a part of the United States and one does not, and
wants to be independent.
Yeah.
And you have that in a lot of even other countries, you know, that we've gone in. We really don't want, and we want to keep our original 50 states right now.
Right.
We don't need to make another state across the pond or something like that because that gives the same. You look what's happening right now in the Middle East, Philip. And Mr. Chris, I'm tell you, we don't need to have United Arab Emirates become part of the United States as a state, even though they probably don't want it as well.
No, I don't think they do.
They'd like to be their own country. Or
these people have their own culture. Puerto Rico, UAE, any of those, they have their own culture, and everybody loves where they're from. I don't care if it's a terrible place. People love where they're from.
Even people come here to the United States.
Yes,
they still love where they came from.
Yes.
They like their roots.
Yes,
but they just didn't want to put up with the politics in those areas.
Right,
and that's what happens a lot of times.
Okay, so Massey's in District 4 in Kentucky. Here's what the president had to say about Massey's guy who's voting against him, Navy SEAL Ed Gallerin. He said that Massey is a third-rate congressman, a weak and pathetic rhino from the great Commonwealth of Kentucky, a place I love and won big 6 times, including all primaries, must be thrown out of office ASAP. He is the worst Republican congressman in history, voting against tax cuts, the wall, law enforcement, and in favor of the transgender mutilization of our children, men playing on women's sports, and so many more horrible things. The incredible people of Kentucky's 4th Congressional District gave us a mandate to make America great again, and the person that will help us do that is Navy SEAL, Army Ranger, and 5th generation Kentucky farmer, Captain Ed Gallerin, a true America First patriot. What's the guy's Gallerin? You think that Trump likes him? Yeah, I think so.
I think he likes him.
I think so. Does he hate Massey? Rightly so.
Well, anytime you disagree with somebody politically, a lot of times that you basically disagree with them on everything, including what coffee they drink. And I mean, I've seen hatred come from some of the weirdest places and the strangest areas, and it becomes personal. And you look at today, everybody makes everything so personal,
right?
And it's really not. It's about an issues. And that's what you really need to concentrate on. It's not.
Well, that's because the left doesn't know the issues. I'm sorry.
They don't know the facts.
They're jumping in and taking the side of the 20 instead of the 80. And that's a dangerous move to make.
Yes, it is.
That's not how you get elected.
No.
By siding with 20% of the people.
That's exactly right. Absolutely.
You're not going to win with 20% of the people.
Right.
And the thing is that
unless it's a tax vote.
Unless it's a tax vote.
And nobody showed up anyway.
Yeah. I just, we talked about this last week. I think it was about the people today in the United States are more concerned about the dinner table talk. What can I afford? How come gas prices are so high? How come food prices are so high? How come my kids are are not able to.
Or so high. No.
Yeah.
You know.
The
kids are high, all right.
You know that your mic's hot, don't you?
Yeah, no, I do. I'm not joking.
Yeah.
That's literally what people talk about around the table. How come my kids are so high? They're on drugs.
How come there's weird people in the world? You know, how come we're fighting a war over there?
I have been watching a documentary on Netflix called 1971, The Music That Changed America.
Mm-hmm.
And I forgot how tumultuous 1971 was. I mean, I was a senior in high school.
Mm-hmm.
And I talked a little bit about this in the first hour. Let's talk about the changes that came out of 71. I forget who the person said, but a person in 71 said, we're moving America into the 21st century now. All right. You had gay rights had started. The civil rights was hitting its peak.
Yeah.
You had, the rights of women changing. The ERA was going on during that time. And Kent State, where 4 students were shot down in cold blood on a college campus.
But if you
what's
look,
happened?
But you look at the today's generation, they have no idea any of that went.
Well, I agree, but the seeds of today were planted in 71. I'm just telling you.
I agree with you. You know,
that's
even
when they were planted.
Even the energy issues, for gas prices. Remember how they went for a while? People were literally taking their cars in lines at the gas station.
Yep.
They were pushing their cars into the gas station because they ran out of gas.
Because they had an odd number at the end of their license plate.
Yeah, you had to have. I remember that. I was going, wow, this is different.
Mm-hmm.
And then you had the Middle East. The Middle Eastern countries where the OPEC was actually generated started controlling the oil prices and the production. Well, I agree with you, Dave. A lot of things changed in the early 70s.
And it started during those times. I mean, it's the same thing was going on in Great Britain. During that time was when there was a huge lawsuit against some people who had a magazine called Oz, and they were brought up in front of the court in England as being provocateurs and purveyors of pornography. And because they were actually talking about sex in articles and things. And they lost that case. And for whatever reason, a lot of times, a lot of people don't understand fighting against something that is gaining momentum at the, where the rubber hits the road with the electorate is not the way to win elections.
No.
And the conservatives in the UK tried to do that, and they got thrown out on their ear.
And you were in the middle of a war too. You were right in the middle of the Vietnam War during that time. So
that was the other big thing that was going on during 1971. I remember that time somewhat. I really remember the Vietnam War because in 1971 is when we turned to an all-volunteer force.
Mm-hmm.
They got rid of the draft. And I remember that because I was thinking that I would be in the draft that year. What was my number going to be?
I talked to a guy yesterday down in Lake Village. When I was coming through, we used a little Mexican restaurant. He come up to me and we was just talking. He's about the same age I was. He said, I barely made it. My number was called, right? And I just barely got on the wire. I didn't have to go.
No, they didn't. They didn't call him up.
But he said, now that I'm older, I wish I had gone.
Now, I understand what
even
you're saying.
though it was an unpopular war during that time.
Here's something that a lot of people don't know. We were talking about this last night at my life group, and the people in my life group are, near my age. In World War II, if you were turned away to be able to join the military, a lot of men left that line and went home and killed themselves.
Yes.
They committed suicide because they couldn't serve and felt like people would look at them as a coward.
But during the Vietnam War, they went to Canada.
Yeah, they went to a lot of them did.
Yeah, they basically evaded the draft and went to Canada.
I wonder if they stayed over there.
Well, it's whenever Whistlebreaches, what's his name, Carter?
Yeah.
He just basically said, look, sis.
Yeah, come on back.
Come on back. We're just going to forgive you. And I said, that's BS.
Yeah. I understand what you're saying.
Whistlebreaches.
I do. But yeah. He's the only one that I hear use that old term.
I like it. So you guys got to remember that a 25-year-old young man today doesn't remember 9/11.
I know.
He wasn't there for it. So when you get into 1971, I am that young man where you guys can speak on it. You're really qualified. I mean, I know a little bit of history.
When were you born?
78.
Yeah, you still
7 years.
He was walking around and he was not.
No.
He wasn't even a gleam in his daddy's eye.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I know a little bit of history, but you guys weren't there for World War II, but right. But,
I was almost there.
Right, exactly. Right, I get it.
I mean, I might as well have been. My dad served with Patton in World War II. I know.
Wow.
I understand a lot of stuff.
Oh yeah, I don't doubt. Yeah,
we had close relatives.
Yeah, we did.
Right,
we sure as heck did. But the first president that I remember, John F. Kennedy.
Wow. Yeah.
1960. I remember.
And Ronald Reagan's the first president. I remember.
Yeah, that was at the end of the 80s.
Right. I think Kennedy made one of the biggest impacts at that time.
Right.
Who, Kennedy?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, ask not what.
Your
country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
Man, that still rings.
Yeah,
but it's not in the Democratic platform.
I was about to say, you guys realize you're praising a Democrat there, right? I mean, what an America First Democrat. How about that?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Democrat got killed by Democrats,
right?
And then you look at Bobby Kennedy. Does everybody remember his famous phrase that he always said?
Which one was that?
He used to say, "Ask." What was it? Not ask not. That's not the one I was thinking of. He made the statement. It's gone out of my head. My Alzheimer's just kicked in. We'll be back, and I'll remember this.
Brain fog.
Here, 8 minutes till 10 o'clock here on the Dave Ellswick Show. Back with you in just a moment.
Twitchy.com brings you the latest in social news, highlighting and reacting to important conversations from America's most prominent journalists, politicians, and celebrities. Twitchy's kinetic group of editors deliver fast and amusing content around the clock to tell you who said what in global and political news, sports, entertainment, and media. If it's news, they're on it. If it should be news, they're ahead of it. Stay connected to the newswire of the 21st century with Twitchy.com. Twitchy.com.
This is Seth Leibson for townhall.com. Recently, a professor of politics at Princeton wrote an op-ed pointing out how many of his students and students at other colleges simply are unfamiliar with the Ten Commandments. He writes, quote, "They lack religious literacy, and their ignorance of religious ideas means they struggle to understand a wide array of Western art, literature, and philosophy," close quote. They also wouldn't understand a great deal of history, never mind political philosophy, from Marx to Rousseau, or recognize lines from Shakespeare to our founding, to Frederick Douglass, to Lincoln, to Martin Luther King Jr. This is what the late Richard John Newhouse worried about decades ago. An America with an increasingly naked public square, bare of any religiosity or recognition of religious faith or culture. What Newhouse feared is now nearly complete, when students at major universities are now illiterate in the cornerstone of Western civilization. Many states right now are debating posting the Ten Commandments in K-12 classrooms. This wouldn't be a parochial decision. It would rather constitute necessary, basic, and remedial education. I'm Seth Leibson.
In his new movie, The Dragon's Prophecy, Dinesh D'Souza brings the new Middle East into focus with a message of perseverance, faith, and a shared global destiny.
Could the fate of the world, of humanity itself, be somehow tied to this place?
At long last, we have peace in the Middle East.
Israel and
Christians are coming together in a way they have never been before since the book of Acts.
But is this the end of Hamas and radical Islam? What does the Bible say?
We have to become fighters in the Spirit for God. We don't accept what the enemy wants to do with our culture. We don't accept what he wants to do with the nation. If we keep fighting, we win.
Powerful, prophetic, a must-see movie based on Jonathan Cahn's international bestseller, The Dragon's Prophecy, combines history and scripture with faith, justice, and renewal. The Dragon's Prophecy, a new film by Dinesh D'Souza, now available on Amazon, YouTube, and iTunes. The Dave Ellswick Show continues now. 101.1, The Answer.
Just a moment ago, by the way, Bobby Kennedy, all right, was talking. He says, some people look at the world and say, why? I look at the world and say, why not? Mm-hmm. That's the famous Bobby Kennedy. The Democrats had some really good, branding back in the day. It's taken the Republicans a long time to get to that point, but I think that we brand it pretty good now. And the way things are going.
And if you look at those branding statements, like you were just mentioning about Kennedy and about the Kennedys, both John as well as Bobby,
both of them assassinated.
And then you look even at Martin Luther King, the things that he believed in. Mm-hmm. You look at those statements actually ring true to most Americans that have lived a long time.
Well, I don't know how many Gen Zers, excuse me, have heard doctors, I had a dream speech or not. Mm-hmm. It's just a great oratory.
Surely they still teach that in school.
I don't know.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, Martin Luther King Day parades and stuff have started losing a lot of their people showing up because those people are dying off, whether you want to know it or not. We were talking about this last night, again, at my life group, and that is when I was younger, kids were allowed to sit at the big boys' table, at mom and dad's table, mm-hmm. and we would sit and listen and hear what our parents would say. I remember my dad talking about World War II at times and talking about people he served with and things of that nature. So serving one's country wasn't a big deal to me. It was something that was required if your nation called on you. But adults have a hard time articulating some of the things that you have seen that your children have not seen. And you should share those thoughts with them.
I always share those thoughts. Basically, and I think that most Americans still have that. They don't understand what the platforms of the different parties are. What do you really want? Because you get a mixture between Democrat, Republican, as well as independent, libertarian things.
Well, everybody thinks that it was the Democrats that were the impetus for the civil rights being authorized in the United States. It wasn't. LBJ was a segregationist for years when he was, of course, the head of the Senate.
Seems like.
And, he fought against Eisenhower, integrating the militaries and things of that nature. Mm-hmm. It's been the Republicans who have stood in the trenches and have fought for that.
Right.
That's one of the biggest misnomers with young people of history, I think, that they don't understand. If it hadn't been for the Republicans, you would not have had 66, civil rights bill go through, because it sure wasn't going to happen under LBJ.
And it seems like I remember, I don't have my phone with me to look it up, but I think that there wasn't a single Democrat that voted for the civil rights bill that Johnson taught.
Well, I have to go back and look at that, but I just know that the Republicans carried the day at that time and during the time of Lincoln. Yeah. All right, 9:59. We got to get the news on. Let's do that on the Dave Ellswick Show.
Find us at 1011fmtheanswer.com. Download our apps, stream us 24/7, or watch us at snc.tv. KDXE, Kamek Village, Little Rock.
Breaking news this hour from Town Hall. Amit Thomason. A gun and a notebook that prosecutors say link Luigi Mangione to the killing of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson can be used as evidence at his murder trial. That ruling today from a judge. The defense had argued that the items were seized illegally before a search warrant was obtained. However, the judge also ruled that other evidence that was found during an initial search of Mangione's backpack must be suppressed. The shootings were random. In Austin, Texas, 10 attacks injured 4 people over the weekend. Police have arrested 2 teens.
I think it touches everybody, and it doesn't matter if it was a car dealership that was struck or it happened to be a fire station or a police station. These are dangerous kids out causing havoc in this city, and they had to be taken into custody, and they were safely.
Austin Police Chief Lisa Davis says they're now hunting for a third possible suspect. A defiant Iranian leadership is suggesting it's ready to fight again, and President Trump seems more than willing to oblige.
President Trump posting on social media, for Iran, the clock is ticking, and they better get moving fast, or there won't be anything left of them. Shortly after a call with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu Sunday, after he addressed his cabinet. This came after a drone strike targeted the UAE's Seoul nuclear power plant in what authorities said was an unprovoked terrorist attack. No major damage was reported. The incident highlights the risk of renewed war as the U.S. and Iran signal they would be ready to fight again, and tensions continue over the Strait of Hormuz. I'm Julie Walker.
North America's largest commuter railroad is not running, the first weekday morning of a strike that has shut down New York's Long Island Railroad. Watching Wall Street, the Dow trading 71 points higher, the NASDAQ down 113. More on these stories, townhall.com.
I talked to a lot of great companies. Very few of them actually literally surprised me, but Fellowship Home Loans sure did. For over 20 years, Mike and Brian and the team there have been helping families do something most people think is more complicated than it has to be. Get into a home, lower their rate, or tap into equity they didn't even realize they had. Everything at Fellowship is done in-house. One roof, one great team, all with a servant-led mentality. From your first phone call to closing, you're going to get people who know you by name. They'll know your situation. They treat you like family. They're also offering a free mortgage checkup right now. Don't miss out. Rates are lower now than if you purchased or refinanced your home in the last few years. Many Fellowship customers are saving hundreds of dollars a month when refinancing, and there are no payments for 2 months. Go to fellowshiphomeloans.com/Mike G, fellowshiphomeloans.com/Mike G, or call 800-510-MIKE, 800-510-6453. Fellowship Home Loans, mortgage lending by the book.
Nationwide Mortgage Bankers, DBA Fellowship Home Loans, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS number 819382.
With your news flash, I'm Trey Westerberg, 101.1 The Answer. Receive your dental implants and new smile in as little as 1 day with Little Rock's dental implant specialist, Dr. Samuel F. Jurek, DDS. Schedule your consultation now at jurekdds.com. Residents in Conway are protesting a proposed $1 billion data center campus on Lolly Road, citing concerns over tax incentives, water use, and power demand tied to the roughly 300,000 square foot project linked to an unnamed Fortune 100 company. Organizers say they plan to continue demonstrations until they receive more transparency from city officials. Starbucks says it will cut about 300 corporate jobs and close several underused U.S. offices as part of a restructuring plan. The company says store workers are not affected. Donor pledges have temporarily reinstated the University of Arkansas men's and women's tennis programs after an April cut, with officials saying funding is a short-term fix while they pursue a long-term endowment to keep both teams viable beyond the 2026-27 season. I'm Trey Westerberg with your news flash on 101.1 The Answer.
With your sports flash, I'm John Thayer on 101.1 The Answer. Arkansas baseball team, the 7th seed in the SEC tournament. Razorbacks play on Wednesday in the second round against either Tennessee or South Carolina. Central Arkansas will play tomorrow evening in the first day of the ASUN tournament. They'll take on Stetson. Major League Baseball action yesterday. The Royals beat the Cardinals 2-0. Kansas City is now 20-27, while the Cardinals drop to 27-19. Arkansas softball team is on to super regional play, where the Razorbacks are set to host Duke. The best-of-3 series is set to begin on Friday and continues Saturday. The if necessary Game 3 is Sunday. The winner of the best-of-3 series will advance to the Women's College World Series. Northside Power, your trusted name when the power goes out. Generators isn't something they do, it's all they do. Find out more at northsidepower.com. I'm John Thayer with your Sports Flash on 101.1 The Answer.
Are you about to turn 65 and you're confused about Medicare? Hi, it's Doc Washburn. My friend Tammy Chase is a local Medicare enrollment specialist who meets with you in person and makes it simple. Tammy takes the time to understand your needs. She walks you through every option in plain language that's easy to understand. There's no confusion and no pressure, just expert help you can trust. Call my friend Tammy Chase for expert help in making it easy. Tell her Doc sent you. TammyChaseInsurance.com.
Hugh Hewitt sees some red flags.
The framework includes, point one, the U.S. and Iranian naval blockade will be gradually lifted during the detailed negotiation period. Red light, detailed negotiation period. You don't need a detailed negotiation period. They need to stop firing at ships and let everybody out, and our blockade's got to continue.
The Hugh Hewitt Show. Afternoons at 2, right before Circular at 3 on 101.1. The Answer.
All together now. All right, back with your final hour of the Monday show. It has gone fast today. And if you've been with us since the beginning, thank you. If you haven't, thank you for being with us during the time that you can be. We're moving into the final hour now of the Dave Ellswick Show. And I had another story here I wanted to get to with our other people here. Chris is here, and so is Wayne. They're both here. When I look at these last stories that I pulled up, is where was it? Here it is. Speaker Johnson continues to demonstrate not just the authenticity of his Christian faith, but also his bold, refreshing eloquence in articulating it. After praying through our nation's history up to our current challenges with sinister ideologies, he prayed, quote, Lord, grant us the courage in your favor to preserve this republic and still within us the same devotion that compelled 56 men to pledge their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor to this grand experiment and self-governance. The same devotion of patriots like a Patrick Henry, for whom liberty was worth any price. The same devotion of President Abraham Lincoln, who at Gettysburg charged his countrymen to rededicate themselves to the unfinished work of our fathers. Lord, today we pray that you grant us that same devotion to these United States. Give us courage, Lord. Make us worthy of all those who devoted and sacrificed their lives so that a government of the people, by the people, and for the people shall not perish from the earth. Almighty God, we ask that you hear these solemn petitions, just as we in the beginning dedicated this land to your most holy name. Today, here, Lord, in this 250th year of American independence, we hereby rededicate the United States of America as one nation under God. Look upon us with favor, upon your country, as we celebrate this momentous anniversary, and let your Holy Spirit descend upon this land so that future generations will look back at this day and at this present age and once again see your providential hand at work. I ask this today, Lord. I pray it and I believe it in your holy name. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Amen.
Are you ever just
Good
thankful
stuff.
at how fortunate you are to have been born here?
I'm every day you get up, you should get up out of bed, kiss the ground you've been standing on, because You won the greatest lottery of life.
Right.
You were born in the United States of America. And I don't, you who say, well, America is not, a special nation. Oh, yes, they are. Yes, you are. You're in a very special nation.
We are. Yeah.
Don't believe it. Go to another country that doesn't.
Yeah, I agree. Go find someplace else where you can speak your mind. They won't let you do that in Britain anymore. They won't let you do that in Canada anymore because guess what? They don't have a First Amendment. We do.
You know what's crazy, though? I've been watching that Saturday Night Live, UK, and they literally make fun of Keir Starmer like they do Trump. Here, right? But look,
I can't say that anymore.
But no, I mean, does that make any sense to you, though? I've been thinking about this. Literally, the people that are against Keir Starmer are same people over here making fun of Trump. And I'm like, you're literally opposing, you know what I'm saying? Like, what's his name who does Saturday Night Live? I can't remember his name.
I don't know who the name.
I can't remember his name.
I watched Saturday Night Live when the main names were Belushi, and Murray and those guys.
But over here, they're against conservatism. Over there, they're mocking Starmer, who is clearly the Labor Party.
Did you see that march they had this weekend?
Yeah.
They think there were 1 million people at it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Against him.
Does anybody know what they were handing out to the marchers? Crosses.
Well, Sadiq was there in town. That's what they were marching against.
Yeah.
The mayor, Sadiq, the Muslim mayor.
Muslim guy, yeah.
And Starmer was like, I watched the meeting. I watch UK. I watch world stuff, so I watch UK
you watch
stuff.
the BBC. I watch the BBC.
Well, no, I was watching something else. I don't remember what it was, but they were literally sitting with the police down there, and he was talking about how he's not going to let them march. Keir Starmer was, and I'm like, good luck. But they're literally rebuking everything that they have let happen in the last 10 years with the Muslims, with the everything.
Well, they finally woke up and smelled the coffee.
Right. But over here, we're still it makes no sense.
Well, there's a lot of water that separates those two countries you're talking about.
But the same person that owns the Saturday Night Live here is doing the Saturday Night over there, and they're against the leftist crap over there. That's what I'm saying. And over here, they're for the leftist crap. Well, it doesn't make any sense.
I'm going to that's because Americans don't understand parliamentary law. I mean, they don't understand that
or history.
The left and the right in the UK are totally different than here. Yeah,
that's who it is. Lorne Michaels.
Yeah.
So they just started that one over there, and I'm just like going, Lorne Michaels is for the Democrats, and you're.
Of course,
but yeah, you're talking about how Starmer,
You also have to remember they're in the ratings business, not
I
politics
know, but
business, right?
But that really makes people think about what they're actually doing. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
They're literally trying to create that messaging over here so that you vote for the lefties, and over there they're trying to create the messaging so that you vote for not the Labor Party.
I mean, there's a lot to be said by the late night shows. What's the number one late night show? If you didn't say Gutfield, you're wrong.
Is it?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Greg Gutfield? Oh, he's hilarious.
Yeah.
I've seen him.
Yeah,
Tyrus?
I didn't know that was number one.
He used to be a stand-up comedian before he went into talk. So anyway, he's a lot of fun to watch.
Oh yeah, and he's got some good guests on there.
Yeah. Yeah, he got a lot of good guests.
Kennedy. Kennedy and Tyrus.
You know who's really changing, and I think it's because of his age, is Bill Maher.
Oh yeah, he just went off on the left for the anti-Semitism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he's saying things now I thought I'd never hear come out of his mouth.
Well, he's actually showing the how ridiculous some of their comments are.
Well, yeah,
and how their narratives and their agenda. So because he's asking himself those same questions that we ask, and that's how do you feel about this? Does this make sense? I'm going to ask.
I mean, make no doubt about it. Maher is still a liberal at heart. All right. However, he's not a nut job liberal like most Democrats are now.
You can't. He understands that you can't defend the indefensible, and that's how.
Yeah, and he won't even try.
He won't try because he knows how ridiculous. He knows that he's seen others that have left the stage, right, and going off in something else and have lost any kind of respect from the public.
Hey, do me a favor, Val. Check on YouTube, and
I already got it.
there's a
but I'm going to play it on my phone because every time I play it through here, it gets yucky.
Okay, the Christian singer, I forget what his first name is, but his last name is West. And the reason I remember him is because I used to be a big fan of second chapter of Acts, and West was the male vocalist in that trio, the two women and a guy. And Matthew West is who his name is. And Matt West, when I started really getting back into Christian contemporary music again, I said, that can't be the West that I know. So, but he'd be 80 years old by now, you know, and
he is.
And I was right. It wasn't that Matthew West. Matthew West spoke yesterday Saturday in the big rally that was held in Washington, D.C., had hundreds of thousands of people there on the mall. And he was talking about his faith. Eric Church gave a great commencement speech over the weekend, and I'll find that. We'll play that sometime tomorrow, where he says it was his 6-string.
Saw that. It was great.
Yeah.
Great.
If each one of the strings aren't tuned correctly, then the chords sound wrong.
Right.
And he said that's where we're at in the United States right now. There's a couple strings that are out of
tune.
Yeah, tune. And
it was a great speech.
Yeah, it was a good speech.
But everyone is going off on it. The lefties, of course.
On that speech?
The Libbies are going off on the whole dang thing, saying Trump's trying to make everyone feel like this is a Christian nation. Like, and like, I'm like, first of all, Trump wasn't even there. He was golfing.
I want to stop there. You go back to the history of this country, and if you don't think it has Christian underpinnings, where the hell have you been?
Right.
I'm just asking.
They're like, it's a separation of church and state.
If it hadn't been for the church, we wouldn't even had an Independence Day.
Nope.
Just the way it is. They were preaching it from the pulpits.
All right. They're still, they're going to make a comment about everything that has to do with Trump and religion, both. But Trump wasn't even there. He was golfing.
If you weren't, if you read the whole thing about separation of church and state from what Jefferson said in the Dansbury letter, and if you didn't know about what the Dansbury letter was or anything, then go find out about it, all right? Because all he was saying is that the federal government should not have a federal church that everybody had to worship. Because when he was president, every state had a state church. He wasn't saying close those down.
It's like you said, they gave out Bibles back then.
Jefferson did.
That's what I'm talking about.
Well, they were just talking about like how it's a separation of church and state, and it should have been on the National Mall.
That's
and I'm like,
crap.
that's stupid.
That is pure.
It's done.
CRAP. That's what it is.
They just want to complain about anything.
It looks like it. It smells like it. It is it.
Doo-doo.
It's what it is. I mean, David Barton's coming into town. And if you've never gone to an event with David Barton, you need to go to one of these events with David Barton. I'll find out who's sponsoring that and get him on to talk about it.
Oh, yeah.
There's a book out written by the son of one of the great chaplains of the Senate. And it's called From Sea to Shining Sea. Just remember that and get yourself a copy of that book and read it. Read it. It's about the history of this country. And if you can't get to the end of that book and not say, God had his finger in this country from the very beginning, you show your ignorance. You people, like I said, what my dad used to tell me, son, he said, don't tell people that you're stupid and don't open your mouth and prove it.
Yeah, don't give them confirmation.
That's what he said.
Don't confirm
He
it.
used to tell me that all the time.
Yeah. open your mouth and review, basically remove all doubt.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, I seriously look back when I was a lot younger, and I can understand why Churchill said, if you're under 30 and you're not a liberal, you don't have a heart. But if you're over 30 and you're not a conservative, you don't have a brain. Okay, right. I understand that now.
Right.
You can write that down.
Because I can say the first time that I had the chance to vote, and I was the first generation to be able to vote when I was 18, and I voted for McGovern. And McGovern was a war hero and all kinds of stuff. But he was just a flaming liberal. All right. I mean, if he had been gay, he'd been out, doing one of these dances dressed up like a woman.
I think that's the one that trained Hillary Clinton too. She was a McGovern girl.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have no idea. All I know is I loved him after he started talking about. Here's one that comes up: a universal wage.
Oh yeah.
He was the first one to push that. A universal wage.
Yeah. There you go. Now, if you're a youngster, know that. Yeah,
sounds great, right?
$15 an hour or $20 an hour working at McDonald's.
But why do you need that? You're high school.
Yeah, that's exactly right. You're exactly right. I was a senior in high school when I voted. The only logical argument for that was they could draft me, and I could take a bullet for my country, but I couldn't cast a ballot.
Yep.
And that made a whole lot of sense to me during that time.
Sure. Or couldn't drink a beer.
Yeah, or couldn't drink a beer. That's right. All right, 21 minutes after 10. We're going to continue here. And hey, maybe pay a little attention to Wayne and I. We've been around long enough that we've heard all this crap before. I mean, we really have. It's 21 after 10 on the Dave Ellswick Show.
And the bad thing about it, we let it happen.
If things don't change, can you imagine America in 20 years? Scary thought, isn't it? The good news is we have the power to take our nation back. Stay right here for all the information you need. 101.1, The Answer.
Whether retirement's just around the corner or already here, it's common to be overwhelmed. That's where Total Wealth with David Lucas can help. Utilizing their signature Thrive planning process, they'll work together with you to identify and resolve your concerns, allowing you to fully pursue your passions and enjoy life. Because a successful retirement isn't just how much you save, it's the quality of life you live. Schedule a free evaluation now at TotalWealth.com. While you're at the website, download the free guide to Social Security. It'll help answer a lot of your questions. Go to TotalWealth.com or call 501-382-8800. 501-382-8800. One more time, go to TotalWealth.com or call 501-382-8800. That's 501-382-8800. 501-382-8800. Go to TotalWealth.com.
Investment advisory services offered through Lucas Total Wealth, an Arkansas registered investment advisor. Arkansas Insurance License number 161527743.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6745. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-6745. That's 800-575-6745. Tax Relief Advocates, real solutions for real people.
On Salem News Channel, principled voices are shaping today's conversation. Scott Jennings brings clarity to the toughest debates. Josh Hammer's blistering commentary puts politics and culture on trial. And Alex Marlowe's insight connects us to what matters most. Watch anytime on Samsung TV Plus, Pluto TV, or find us on your screen at snc.tv. 3 new shows, 1 powerful lineup. Salem News Channel, across America.
101.1 The Answer. Weather.
If this forecast holds, we are in for a beautiful start to the work week. High of 81 today under sunshine, 60 for the low tonight, a few clouds and sun tomorrow, and a high all the way up to 85.
You can watch the show right now. The Dave Ellswick Show is streaming live on Facebook. This is 101.1 The Answer.
Yeah. I was just telling Chris and of course, Wayne, a lot of you have listened to the show since I've been here in Little Rock 26 years now. But if you had called up and asked me, Dave, did you smoke pot when you were in college? I would say, yeah. There's still third world nations that don't have grass huts because I was alive.
Right.
I mean that's the truth.
Same here.
I'm saying God's honest truth with you about that.
But did you inhale?
Yeah, that's the other part that I said. I'm not a hypocrite like Bill Clinton. Mm-hmm. I inhaled. Boy, did I inhale. You know, when I was in college, we made our own bong, and we got a gas mask. You remember the gas mask that had the big tube that hanging out?
Yep.
And put the receptacle for the marijuana under that, and then you'd put the gas mask on, and
you're trying to get the full effect.
You'd just be smoking it.
You put it in a big plastic bag and then put it over your head.
Yeah, and it just drugs were a part of my life when I was younger, and it was a part. I'm a friend with Dan Quayle. I know Dan really well because I was doing talk in Indiana, and Dan came on my show several times. And a lot of people think he's stupid. He's not. He's a very, very smart man, and he and I get to talking, and he's the only one I know that lives the truth of if you were born in the early 70s and you remember what was happening, you weren't really there.
Yeah, right.
I mean, that's the way we looked at it. We were so high most of the time, I didn't know what exactly was going on around me. I mean, thank God I got delivered from that. But I'm just telling you, I was one of, my picture probably was next to the word pagan in the dictionary.
Those back
I'm just telling you.
Back when rocks were still soft. Right?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I lived through the whole streaking phase and all of that. Yeah, I'm that old.
I was one of those streakers.
I mean, really, I'm that old. Yeah, that goes along with the way we look at life.
Yep.
Your
frontal lobe hadn't fully developed yet.
Yeah, that's about the truth. I had a sticker on my car. It was my Charger that said, "If it itches, scratch it."
Right.
And it had a bear against the tree. All right. That was kind of the way I lived my life when I was really young.
It's all about the feeling.
Yeah, that's all it was. I understand trying to argue from feelings, but I've been around long enough that I know that you don't make your life decisions on feelings. You're going to find yourself in a very bad position later in life.
Like a lot of people have found a way, they found themselves today. It's all about feelings, and they get in financial trouble, or they get in political trouble, or something else. It's all about feelings.
I gotta talk about this real quick because Wayne just during the break said that Sunday was his 51st wedding anniversary.
That was yesterday.
51 years you've been married to
to
the same woman. All right. If I could count two women, I've been married for 43 years. But and now when people ask me about what happened to your first wife, I can say, well, I'm a widower because she has passed on. All right. But I was married to her when she passed me by and left. All right. I remember that
but
very,
I can tell
very
you,
well.
51 years is over a half a century. And you put it in those
that sounds like a long time, doesn't it?
It sounds like you. Wait a minute, did you fight in the Revolutionary War? Some people.
So you understand something, and I think I've been married almost 34 years to Linda, that if we had gone by just feelings, we would have been gone a long time ago from our marriages.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Because marriage is not about, I wake up in the morning, I look at my wife and go, oh, sweetheart, you're so beautiful, blah, blah, blah. It's not that way anymore.
Now, the infatuation has left you.
Yeah, it has.
The erotics and everything else, and the thing kind of left some of it, and it's not what drives you like that.
You're right. 51 years.
Kinda
Congratulations.
Kind of like appetite and hormones.
And congratulations to your wife. She must be a great woman. Right. I was just going to say that. We're going to take a break, 10:30 on a Monday.
Luigi Mangione to the killing of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson can be used as evidence at his murder trial. That's a ruling today from a judge. The shootings were random in nature. In Austin, Texas, 10 attacks injured 4 people over the weekend. Police in Austin arresting 2 teens are still looking for a third suspect. A defiant Iranian leadership suggests that it's ready to fight again. President Trump seems more than willing to oblige. North America's largest commuter railroad not running today, the first weekday morning of a strike that has shut down New York's Long Island Railroad. And on Wall Street, the Dow is down 32 points, NASDAQ is off 142, and the S&P trading 18 points in the red. More details at srnnews.com.
I talked to a lot of great companies. Very few of them actually literally surprised me, but Fellowship Home Loans sure did. For over 20 years, Mike and Brian and the team there have been helping families do something most people think is more complicated than it has to be. Get into a home, lower their rate, or tap into equity they didn't even realize they had. Everything at Fellowship is done in-house. One roof, one great team, all with a servant-led mentality. From your first phone call to closing, you're going to get people who know you by name. They'll know your situation. They treat you like family. They're also offering a free mortgage checkup right now. Don't miss out. Rates are lower now than if you purchased or refinanced your home in the last few years. Many Fellowship customers are saving hundreds of dollars a month when refinancing, and there are no payments for 2 months. Go to fellowshiphomeloans.com/Mike G, fellowshiphomeloans.com/Mike G, or call 800-510-MIKE, 800-510-6453. Fellowship Home Loans, mortgage lending by the book.
Nationwide Mortgage Bankers, DBA Fellowship Home Loans, equal housing lender, NMLS number 819382.
What happens when feelings replace morality? If personal opinions, then who decides why violence, theft, or chaos are wrong? In his new book, If There Is No God, Dennis Prager tackles the biggest questions of good, evil, suffering, and justice, offering clear arguments for anyone searching for moral clarity in a troubled age. If There Is No God by Dennis Prager. Available now at pragerstore.com. That's pragerstore.com.
You know your business inside and out, but does your community? With Salem Media's podcast and video production services, you can share your expertise and connect with customers on their commute or wherever they listen. We handle production and distribution, so your content reaches the right ears on multiple podcast platforms. Stop letting competitors own the conversation. Call Salem Media today and ask about our local business podcast packages. Call Chris at 210-526-3631. 210-526-3631.
This is 101.1, The Answer, where Little Rock comes to talk. Start your day with Dave Ellswick in the morning, breaking down the stories shaping Arkansas and the nation and hearing what you have to say. Then in the afternoon, join Doc Washburn as he takes on the biggest headlines, asks the tough questions, and opens the phones for real conversation. Because on 101.1, The Answer, talk radio means your voice matters. Call in, sound off, be a part of the discussion at 501-401-1011. Plus, hear from some of the biggest names in talk radio. CNN Scott Jennings, Mike Gallagher, Larry Elder, bringing you smart analysis, strong opinions, and the debate everyone's talking about. Local voices, national perspective, and your chance to be heard. 501-401-1011. 101.1, The Answer, where Little Rock comes to talk.
The price of gold is surging to new highs. It's all up $5,000 an ounce. The only question How much money will you make when gold hits $6,000 an ounce? Investors like you have made small fortunes off the run-up in precious metals, and not just with gold stocks or ETFs. Many have taken advantage of a little-known gold investment officially released by the U.S. government. Now you can too when you get our free special report from veteran trader and investor Jim Woods. It's called Gold Wealth Boosters. This new report outlines amazing gold investments that have returned 12 to 26 times more than investing in gold bullion itself. Given the uncertainty in world markets, the investments outlined in Jim Woods' Gold Wealth Boosters report are crucial in 2026, and it's free. To get your free Gold Wealth Boosters report, log on to EagleGoldReport.com. EagleGoldReport.com. That's EagleGoldReport.com.
Dave Ellswick is the conservative voice of Arkansas, and he's back. 101.1, The Answer.
I like doing this. I like talking about America when I was young, all right, which was a long time ago. And we were just sitting here talking about it. And, you know, you argue with your wife, Chris?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. What's the number one topic you probably argue over besides money?
Yeah, I say absolutely. We get along very well. I would say probably parenting styles and things like that. We have young ones, right? So they're swinging from the chandeliers. I mean, they're that young.
Yeah, so. And it drives you crazy.
Yeah.
All right.
Either one of us at any given time.
You're not the one that your kids come to for the loving stuff.
No,
right?
I think we trade. No, I think we trade that pretty well.
Do you really?
I mean, it might be.
You get to be good cop once in a while?
A lot, actually. I think you know what? I get to be the fun dad. She does the hard work. Honestly, she really does do the hard work, and I mean, she's taking care of them. I get to show up and have a good time, right?
Yeah. How about you, Wayne? What do you guys have? You know, is there one thing that
I can tell you? I'm so happy that I thought about it. And probably does because my buddies all told me that you're not going to be able to go hunting and fishing like you want to. All that's going to come to a focus. So I made a prenuptial agreement with my wife like a day before that we were going to get married. I said, honey, I don't think I can go through with this. And she told me, she said, whoa, what do you mean? I said, well, says my buddies are all telling me that my hunting and fishing is fixing to come to a focus. And I'm really concerned about that. She said, if that's all you can concern about, says you can go hunting and fishing anytime you want to. And I just smiled and said, okay, now I can get married.
There you go.
Right.
Yeah.
And what happens is that's probably been the first part of our marriage. That was probably one of the more contentious things because I stayed hunting and fishing a lot. Right. And I would recommend to any young man that if you don't want to lose your guns and your fishing rods or your golf clubs, whatever your forte is, that you better make yourself a little prenuptial agreement like the day before you go into that room and say, I do. Because you will do something else.
But you know this, Wayne, as well as Chris does, because he's old enough that he knows this. And that is, used to be when people got married, they got married for life.
Right.
And that changed about mid-'80s.
Right.
You know, as far as that, I mean, it changed when a thing called no-fault divorce came out.
Yes.
Right.
And when you didn't have to agree to it, that it could just be dropped on your head, that changed a lot of stuff.
Yes.
And not for the betterment.
No, the thing is that nowadays there's a lot of young people that don't think, I don't need to get married. I don't need a man or I don't need a woman, you know, and now you end up same thing that China has done with their young people, because now they don't have enough women.
You know what? If they don't do what they're going to do to try to project their power, they're not going to get a chance to project their power.
And you know, that's exactly right. It's all about who has the power.
Yeah.
And being able to recognize who has that power early on. And I can tell you right now, women have all the power.
Right.
Yeah, I can't talk about that on commercial radio because I would get fined something terrible.
Oh, you're thinking down. I see where your brain's going to.
Prince had a song that I'm going to tell you. I won't even tell you the name of it because I'd get fired. But the bottom line is that he sings about, and there was a lot of truth to it. I mean, a lot of truth to it.
And the earlier you can learn that truth, right? It's not a bad thing. It's just that the earliest, you just look through history, right? All through history that even though men has said they have the power, they really don't.
No, they did not.
Right.
They did not. I know that before we got married, Linda and I, we sat down and seriously talked it out, because I told her, I only want to warn you about two things about me. Now, you know a lot about me already, but there's some things that you might not be 100% on. And I said, one, radio makes a terrible mistress. And she said, what do you mean? I said, because I work in radio, and my responsibility is to my listener. And like when it snows real bad or you got tornadoes around and stuff, I won't be at home. I'll be on the radio talking to my listeners. And that's been a bone of contention a couple of times. The last time it was a real bone of contention was on 9/11, because she called me while I was at work and said, what's going on? And I started talking to her about, the attacks on the World Trade Center and things of that nature. And I said, Linda, the world that you grew up in and that I grew up in is done. It's going to change dramatically now.
And if you look at the, like you said, you look at the different times that this country has changed and the world has changed.
Yeah.
It's whenever you get the busiest, especially on radio.
Yeah, and I'm expected to come in and do that type of stuff. For some big radio owners, that's not the case. They've cut their staffs and cut a lot of things down to the point where they can't do that. So they have one station that's what they'll call their flagstick station, and they'll do all the weathers and the politics and all the rest, covering elections and stuff. The second thing was sports. Look, I played sports from as long as I can almost remember. I think I was probably, pitching in my mother's womb when I was really young. And bottom line was I can't remember when there was a point in my life I couldn't remember when a baseball wasn't in my hand, that I slept my mitt underneath my pillow. I remember those times. My wife tends to get a little bit testy with me when she wants to go do something. I go, can we do it at this time instead of at that time? Mm-hmm. And she'll say, what's wrong? And I'll say, well, Cubs have got the game against, the St. Louis Cardinals, and I kind of want to watch that. And she'll say, okay, and I know she's ticked off at me, but I'm sorry. It's a big part of my life.
I do the same thing with mine. My wife is that everything kind of revolves around hunting and fishing. So when she asked me, well, we're going to go here at a certain time. And I said, well, let me look at my calendar. And she says, you have to look at your calendar? I said, yes. I said, you need to find out when duck season starts. Because, and these guys that get married on the first day of duck season, I'm going, y'all are out of your rabbit mind. Right. I don't know. I understand. It's about like you do about your sports,
Yeah, well, we have the roughest patches we've had were, when she thought I was watching sports too much, and as far as I just told you about work. Val understands what I say when I mention, there's a lot of people who think if you're on the radio, you're making a lot of money. And I'm just going to tell you, for every rush that was out there, there's 10,000 people that want to get to where, not even get to where Rush was, just make enough money that they can pay all their bills. Mm-hmm. It's the way it is. Go ahead.
I said, I'm gonna apply to live at this Providence Park over here. They done spent $9 million on it, so for homeless people. So
yeah, that's really crazy.
Well, I'm just saying, you're talking about our incomes. That is crazy. I was just reading it and I was looking at the photos. You know what is even more crazy? There's literally a GMC newer model truck that probably costs around $50,000 sitting in one of the driveways.
Oh, sure.
And it with an Audi.
Yeah.
A newer model Audi.
That makes sense to me.
With bicycles and everything laying around it.
Yeah.
That's not homeless if you can afford a $50,000 truck and car.
Well, I'm just telling you, you're not poor if your kids are playing PlayStation.
No. I mean, me and Chris drove by one time. We met out somewhere and we were both leaving at the same time. And I texted him. I was like, did you see that line?
Oh, yeah.
I said, did you see that line back there at that church? And he was like, what? I was like, they're all new cars waiting in the food line. I'm like,
a food pantry line, and it had $50,000 cars all in line
ridiculous.
Really, that's the way the people think now.
It's completely different. Like I remember when my daughter was working for a doctor here in Little Rock, and there was a person that drove up in a Mercedes Benz, had all kinds of jewelry on and everything else, and she basically demanded that she be taken care of, right then. And the issue was that she was trying to do it through social services, do the thing, and demanding it, and had all this, but looked completely different. Didn't look like she didn't look poor, is what I'm saying.
Right.
I remember when I was growing up, I was so poor we used to get in fights. The neighbors' kids down the road just smelled peanut butter on their breath.
I'm telling you, when I was poor, we didn't have PlayStation. I mean, me and my mom shared a baked potato at night sometimes to eat. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's poor. That's poor. Poor nowadays is not poor.
It's different definition.
It's so different.
Well, you know the guy that I have on from the Heritage Foundation, that we talk about what is poverty. And he goes through and starts talking about you can be in poverty and own your own home, own your own car. They've got color TVs. They've got refrigerator, freezer. And you just go down the line. It is not poverty.
I can see being in poverty, owning your own home, though, like an elderly person, like my grandpa. You know what I mean? Like you get hardly anything on. I mean, he passed away years ago, but he owned his own home because he paid for it over the years. But when he got older, he couldn't work anymore, and he had Social Security. And I mean, he got commodities. We need to go back to commodities, I think.
Well, instead of giving them EBT cards, so that they say, well, we've got to do that because we don't want people to feel inferior.
Baloney, they do it so the banks can get those fees off of them.
I'm going to be honest with you. You should have to go get the block of cheese again. I think I would agree with that.
Bring back your integrity. Like that's what we've lost in that. Nobody has integrity
If
anymore.
somebody has got to help you to be able to feed your family, you should be ashamed. I'm sorry. Let me remind you that Val didn't say that, and Wayne didn't say that, or Chris didn't say that. I said it. Dave Ellswick69 @gmail.com.
Complain to Dave.
All right. Complain to me saying it, because I'll stand behind those words. Mm-hmm. If you think that you should get that, absolutely, then your whole vision of the world is screwed up.
I mean, I had to get it when I was in college to feed my kids, and I was embarrassed.
Well,
I was embarrassed. It was in between the time where they give you a card and you got stamps.
Yeah.
And I was embarrassed. I was like trying to, I was ashamed I'm the kind of person, I don't ask for help from nobody. I will not. And my kids are like that now too. They won't ask for help, and they don't even ask for that help. Like, cause they will starve, but they make sure kids got everything they need. But to me, I don't want someone to make their kids starve because they're too ashamed to get that. And that's where I'm like, if you are going to school, if you are trying to make something of yourself, those are the people that I think should be getting that, because you're going to turn around and you're going to get a better job and you're going to be a tax maker instead of a tax taker. You know what I mean? But the people that just live on this crap day in, day out, don't try to better themselves.
Generation.
Yeah. Pay for their barbecues and for the community barbecues, and ain't trying to get to work or none of that stuff, or working on the table, making cash and getting food stamps too, and driving Bentleys. Cause there's a report out that there was people kicked off or had Bentleys. Like, that's crazy. That was last week. Of the fraud.
Or you go to the grocery store and you see somebody pushing a cart around with lobsters in it and steaks and everything else.
Shoot, just a tube of hamburger anymore.
Says, I can't even afford a can of tuna fish. You know what I mean? That's what you think about the whole time. Say, wait a minute.
But we're the ones, and we're the ones paying for that, but we can't even eat that.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
There's people who actually living better than you are.
Then you're paying for it.
And you're paying for it. And you're going, wait, what's wrong with this
I think
picture?
that right amongst the 4 people that are sitting here right now, you won't find anybody who feels entitled.
No.
But there's a large group of people in this country that feel entitled. I'm entitled to that, and here's the one that really drives me crazy. Well, you should help take care of them because they're a human being. No, that's not true.
Well, if you're a human being, you're supposed to be responsible for yourself.
Yeah, that's exactly
but you
right.
know what? I don't get no credit for helping my family. If I'm helping my family, I should get a deduction for that. If
I
I'm
should
helping
be able to write all of that
my
off
mom,
of my taxes.
I should get a deduction from that, from taking that money that they're not giving to my family that I'm having to help, and I should get a deduction for that.
Well, I could see that. To be honest with you,
that's what I think that the government has changed. The government has changed to where, the churches used to take care of those that were other, the widows and the orphans. Mm-hmm. It's whenever you started getting away from that, and the government started taking care of it.
Yeah, that started in the 80s.
Yeah, then you start running into an issue. Is that you start getting programs that are abused. And there's a lot of fraud involved and that sort of thing in there.
All right, we got to get a break in. Last break for our 10 o'clock hour. Dude, guys, we've already almost done 3 hours now.
Oh, dear mercy.
Doesn't seem that, does it?
No, it doesn't.
All right, we'll be back. We got more to talk about. We'll finish it up here on the Dave Ellswick Show.
This is Seth Leibson for townhall.com. Recently, a professor of politics at Princeton wrote an op-ed pointing out how many of his students and students at other colleges simply are unfamiliar with the Ten Commandments. He writes, quote, "They lack religious literacy and their ignorance of religious ideas means they struggle to understand a wide array of Western art, literature, and philosophy," close quote. They also wouldn't understand a great deal of history, never mind political philosophy, from Marx to Rousseau, or recognize lines from Shakespeare to our founding, to Frederick Douglass, to Lincoln, to Martin Luther King Jr. This is what the late Richard John Newhouse worried about decades ago. An America with an increasingly naked public square, bare of any religiosity or recognition of religious faith or culture. What Newhouse feared is now nearly complete, when students at major universities are now illiterate in the cornerstone of Western civilization. Many states right now are debating posting the Ten Commandments in K-12 classrooms. This wouldn't be a parochial decision. It would rather constitute necessary, basic, and remedial education. I'm Seth Leibson. This is Seth Leibson for townhall.com. Recently, a professor of politics at Princeton wrote an op-ed pointing out how many of his students and students at other colleges simply are unfamiliar with the Ten Commandments. He writes, quote, "They lack religious literacy and their ignorance of religious ideas means they struggle to understand a wide array of Western art, literature, and philosophy," close quote. They also wouldn't understand a great deal of history, never mind political philosophy, from Marx to Rousseau, or recognize lines from Shakespeare to our founding, to Frederick Douglass, to Lincoln, to Martin Luther King Jr. This is what the late Richard John Newhouse worried about decades ago. An America with an increasingly naked public square, bare of any religiosity or recognition of religious faith or culture. What Newhouse feared is now nearly complete, when students at major universities are now illiterate in the cornerstone of Western civilization. Many states right now are debating posting the Ten Commandments in K-12 classrooms. This wouldn't be a parochial decision. It would rather constitute necessary, basic, and remedial education. I'm Seth Leibson.
When your car is making a strange noise, no matter what it is, you can't just pretend it's not happening.
That's an interesting sound.
It's like your mental health. If you're struggling and feeling overwhelmed, it's important to do something about it. It can be as simple as talking to someone in your community, or just taking a deep, calming breath when you need it. Nice. For mental health resources, check out loveyourmindtoday.org. At loveyourmindtoday.org, you'll find information that may help you get through a tough time. Things like tips for dealing with stress, how to navigate difficulties like financial worries, anger, substance use, and more. You can also find real stories of how people navigated their own mental health challenges. Because once you start to address the problem, you can go so much further. Visit loveyourmindtoday.org. That's loveyourmindtoday.org. Brought to you by the Huntsman Mental Health Institute and the Ad Council.
There's a real battle going on, not only for our future, but that of our children and grandchildren. How do we ensure they have it better than we do? One way is to keep listening to us. We're your information source in the battle. 101.1, The Answer. The news never stops, and neither does your schedule. That's why we're here, keeping you up to date with all the biggest stories of the day. We're 101.1, The Answer, where Little Rock comes to talk. Now, back to the Dave Ellswick Show. 101.1, The Answer.
All right, let's finish it up for a Monday. Tomorrow, it's Tuesday. That means starting at 7 o'clock in the morning, going until 9 o'clock in the morning. Ryan Norris will be here from Americans for Prosperity. We'll be talking to him. And do we got any other guests? Okay. Yeah, they're getting ready to start again. I go to the farmers market a lot in Cabot. That's where I buy my tomatoes, because I can tell you what, the tomatoes you'll get there are 10 times as good as the ones that I'll pick up at Walmart. Yeah. You know, they sell them in those little sleeves. You know, it's got 4 tomatoes that are about the size of a Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people didn't know what I was talking about. They don't even know what a Super Bowl was. But anyway, they're small tomatoes, like cherry tomatoes, I think of. But I like getting some of those beefsteak tomatoes that you can get at the farmer's market.
Oh, there's nothing like a tomato sandwich either.
Yeah. You take and wash them up real good. I'll put them in the refrigerator, let them get cold. And then I get my tomato, and I get salt shaker, and I'll sit down in front of the TV, and I'll eat that raw tomato. And boy, that's good eating. I'm just telling you, that's really good eating. It
make your tongue slap your brains out.
I have eaten so many tomatoes because I love them. You get what's called the doctor said that I had overflow diarrhea. What it was, I had eaten so many tomatoes, and there's so much acid in them. Huh. I killed all the good bacteria in my digestive tract.
And you didn't have enough probiotics.
I had to go buy. At that point, it was a really brand new thing, and you'd eat a spoonful of this crap that they gave to you, and you'd reseed your intestines is what you were doing.
Putting the new bacteria, the good bacteria back in your system.
Yeah, but man, I love tomatoes. It's one of my favorite. The other thing, I can't eat them anymore. Well, I could, but I don't. And that is raw potatoes. When I was a kid, we would peel a potato in the evening and get your salt shaker out and eat raw potatoes.
Never tried it.
My mother got so mad at me and my brother one time. I remember it like it happened yesterday. She had bought 10 pounds of potatoes. And this next night, it was Sunday. So Saturday night is shock theater. So we had stayed up late watching all the monster movies.
And
eating raw potatoes. And we ate 9 pounds and 8 ounces of a 10-pound bag,
and used a whole shaker full of salt.
Yeah, sit there and eat that stuff, man. Right.
Salt makes anything taste good.
It does.
Right.
A lot of people look at me weird because I put salt on my watermelon. And they go, Dave, why do you put salt on something sweet? And I said, because it pulls the juice out of it. That's why I put salt on my watermelon. It'll make it weep like crazy.
And if you really want your cattle to eat, what they do, they put feeding salt in the cattle feed. Mm-hmm. Well, it's the same thing they do with the deer. You hear about the salt blocks that you put out for deer and stuff. Right. It's the same thing. They like salt, and humans like salt too.
I'm glad I'm not out a field like that, because I'd be the human being down on all fours licking the salt drop.
Yep.
I've had to get over that because there's enough scientific evidence that I understand. I've eaten too much salt. It's not good for me.
If you don't eat enough, it can be bad.
Yeah, if you don't eat enough. Same thing with water. I don't need to drink a whole gallon of water, all right, every day. In fact, they're finding that it's not good for you either. All right, guys, I got to let you go. Chris, thanks so much.
Enjoyed being here. Thanks
Appreciate
again,
you
Dave.
being here.
Yeah.
You don't have to come next week, because if you do, I won't be here.
Okay.
All right. Same thing with you, Wayne.
So you're going to be here
Take
next
Monday
week,
off.
you say?
I won't be here for Memorial Day. I'll be off.
Oh, well.
Memorial Day is next Monday. So you don't need to be here.
That'd be good.
I'll see you in 2 weeks. All right.
Yes,
See
sir.
you in 2 weeks.
Need you to control us, too.
All right. See you tomorrow on the radio, 7 a.m., Dave Ellswick Show.
Freedom has a frequency, and it's 101.1. The Answer, where Little Rock comes to talk. KDXE, Kamek Village, Little Rock.
Breaking news at Town Hall. I'm Bob Agnew in Washington. Russian leader Vladimir Putin will be in Beijing this week, just days after President Trump met there with his Chinese counterpart.
The Kremlin has said Putin and Xi will discuss global issues, economic ties, and the long-standing partnership between the two countries. China and Russia's ties have deepened in the recent years, especially after Russia's invasion of Ukraine in 2022, as sanctions from Western countries pushed Moscow to lean on China for trade and diplomatic support. This visit is likely to be closely watched in Washington, as China is trying to keep a stable relation with the U.S., but at the same time maintaining close ties with Russia.
And that is correspondent Edward Castillo reporting. A jet collision in Idaho over the weekend.
An air show organizer says 4 crew members ejected after the 2 Navy jets collided Sunday during the Gunfighter Skies air show in Idaho. Emergency crews responded after the planes collided at the Mountain Home Air Force Base in western Idaho, about 50 miles south of Boise. All 4 of the crew members from the planes were able to eject safely. That's according to Kim Sykes, marketing director with Silver Wings of Idaho, which helped to plan the show. The base said in a social media post that it was locked down following the incident. John Scott reporting.
Politics, the LGBT agenda, and healthcare all colliding in a major settlement in Texas.
Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton reaches a major settlement with Texas Children's Hospital, requiring the creation of the nation's first detransition clinic. The agreement also includes a $10 million payment over allegations of Medicaid fraud tied to gender transition procedures. 5 doctors are expected to lose credentials under the settlement. The deal comes just days before Paxton's Republican Senate primary against Senator John Cornyn. Willie Nelson reporting.
More on these stories at townhall.com.
There's a moment nobody talks about with weight loss. It's the moment it stops working. The diet that worked before doesn't. Eating less stops moving the scale. That's not random. When your body's under stress, it slows your metabolism. That's why quick fixes eventually fail. At PhD Weight Loss, they focus on restoring your metabolism. And right now, when you call and mention Mike G, you'll get 2 free weeks and they'll pay for the cost of your food. Call 864-644-1900. That's 864-644-1900 or visit myphdweightloss.com.
Hi, I'm Kirk Cameron. Is health insurance eating up your budget for 2026? If you're looking for ways to better steward your finances, consider this. Christian Healthcare Ministries is a health insurance alternative at half the cost. As a ministry, CHM allows you to share the burden of medical bills with other believers. Join CHM today by visiting chministries.org/wellness. That's chministries.org/wellness.
With your news flash, I'm Trey Westerberg, 101.1 The Answer. Receive your dental implants and new smile in as little as 1 day with Little Rock's dental implant specialist, Dr. Samuel F. Jurek, DDS. Schedule your consultation now at jurekdds.com. Starbucks says it will cut about 300 corporate jobs and close several underused U.S. offices as part of a restructuring plan. The company says store workers are not affected. Donor pledges have temporarily reinstated the University of Arkansas men's and women's tennis programs after an April cut, with officials saying funding is a short-term fix while they pursue a long-term endowment to keep both teams viable beyond the 2026-27 season. Residents in Conway are protesting a proposed $1 billion data center campus on Lolly Road, citing concerns over over tax incentives, water use, and power demand tied to the roughly 300,000 square foot project linked to an unnamed Fortune 100 company. Organizers say they plan to continue demonstrations until they receive more transparency from city officials. I'm Trey Westerberg with your news flash on 101.1 The Answer.
With your sports flash, I'm John Thayer on 101.1 The Answer. Arkansas softball team is on to super regional play with the Razorbacks are set to host Duke. The best of three series is set to begin on Friday and continue Saturday. The if necessary game 3 is Sunday. The winner of the best of three series will advance to the Women's College World Series. Arkansas baseball team, the 7th seed in the SEC tournament. Razorbacks play on Wednesday in the second round against either Tennessee or South Carolina. Central Arkansas will play tomorrow evening in the first day of the ASUN tournament. They'll take on Stetson. Major League Baseball action yesterday. The Royals beat the Cardinals 2-0. Kansas City is now 20-27, while the Cardinals drop to 27-19. Northside Power, your trusted name when the power goes out. Generators isn't something they do. It's all they do. Find out more at northsidepower.com. I'm John Thayer with your Sports Flash on 101.1 The Answer.
Hello, KDXE listeners. Join me Saturdays, 8 a.m. for a new program about investing in physical gold and silver. The show, Johnny on the Spot, provides valuable insight about buying and selling physical precious metals. Brought to you by CMI Gold and Silver, the nation's oldest bullion firm, serving clients nationwide since 1973. Saturday mornings, 8 a.m. on 101.1 FM The Answer. And check us out online at cmigs.com.
Larry O'Connor sees big government at work again.
Corruption in California, as the governor wants to give everybody free diapers. $20 million so that you can get 400 diapers. And if you're trying to do the math right now, it makes no sense. It makes no economic sense. And by the way, it's a lot of things, this idea, but one thing it ain't is affordable.
O'Connor and Company. Weekday mornings at 6, right before Dave Ellswick at 7 on 101.1 The Answer.
Hey, have a great weekend. It's going to be beautiful weather